just a second. We started with the concept of infrastructure, correct? We started with the idea of a infrastructure. What do you mean by infrastructure? If you remember, infrastructure basically is assets which are created by us, either by the government or by the private sector, which are going to be used for the promotion of growth and development. Right? We are going to achieve growth as well as development using this infrastructure. And I said infrastructure is generally divided into three parts. Traditionally, the books will say only two, but please remember now the third one. First one is the economic infrastructure. Second one is the social infrastructure. And the third one is digital infrastructure. Economic infrastructure, best example that we have started discussing yesterday: ports, railways, right? Let's say airports, etc. The social infrastructure, right? Healthcare facility, education, sanitation infrastructure. Third one is the digital infrastructure. The best example is basically the concept of Aadhaar or the idea of a Aadhaar. Now, within that, we started discussing, and after that, we started discussing different types of infrastructure. One, we have started with the idea of a power sector, right? Basically, electricity. In electricity, what we have discussed, electricity, right? Argument is simple. There are three steps. One is production, that is generation. Then there is a transmission. Then there is a distribution. Private sector is present in all of them, but along with private sector, even the government is also present. In production, we have government, that is central government, state governments, as well as private sector companies. Transmission also, government is there, right? For example, there's a company by the name of Power Grid. It is involved in transmission. Along with that, private sector companies are also involved in transmission of electricity. Then there is a concept of distribution, which is mainly controlled by the state governments. But apart from the state government, in various cities, for example, I said Mumbai, Agra, etc., private sector companies are also present. Then what are the sources of electricity? Majority, a large chunk of electricity that we produce in India, we get it from coal sector. We get it from thermal, right? A thermal will also involve gas, thermal and gas. So we have thermal, then we have wind energy, we have solar energy, we have nuclear energy, we also have bioenergy, right? So these are some of the sources from which we generate electricity. Then what are the concerns? What are the issues in the electricity sector? One, the losses incurred by the distribution companies are very higher. The losses are because of the AT&C losses, aggregate technical and commercial losses. The losses are also because of higher average cost of supply compared to average revenue realized. After that, we have a shortage of fuel resources. For example, nuclear energy, right? For that, we require nuclear material, we import it. Solar energy, we require solar panels, we import it. The thermal energy, we require coal, we import coal, etc. So these are some of the issues. Apart from this, the cross subsidization creates imbalances in the usages, right? The energy security, 24/7 electricity supply, even today, it's far away from being achieved, especially in the rural part of India. So these are some of the concerns regarding power sector or electricity sector. After that, some of the reforms we have discussed. Do you remember the reforms? First one is RDSS, Revamped Distribution Sector Scheme. Earlier, before RDSS, we had implemented UDAY, right? Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana. And after Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana was implemented, we wanted to reduce the AT&C losses. They have not been able to achieve that. We wanted the gap between ARR and ACS to be zero. That also we have not been able to achieve. And that is the reason under RDSS, Government of India says the assistance will be provided only when you meet the targets that have been set up under RDSS. Right, so that is one RDSS. Second one is PM Saubhagya Yojana, Pradhana Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana. Third one is a national LED program, right? National LED program, right? There also we have discussed Ujala Yojana, special purpose vehicle, right? Energy Efficiency Services Limited. Then we have discussed a renewable energy target. We have set up a target of 175 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2022, but we have not been able to meet. Definitely, yes, renewable energy capacity is more than 100 gigawatts in India today. By 2030, we want to have right? Totally 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. After that, we started discussing railways, sector. In railways, what we have discussed, point number one, India has one of the largest railway networks in the world. That's a fact. Do not be worried about it. It's a fact, right? India has one of the largest railway networks in the world, right? That is, apart from USA, China, etc. India, right, as far as the ranking is concerned, has fourth largest railway network. Second point is railways in India is mainly controlled by the government. It is mainly controlled by the government. How so? Government of India set up a ministry, and this ministry, right, basically under the departmental undertaking, railways is actually operated in India. And that's the reason we say railways is a departmental ministerial undertaking. Third, railways, there are two components in the railways. One is a freight transportation. Second one is passenger transportation. In case of freight transportation, we export goods, we export certain material, etc. Passenger means people. Then what are the issues? What are the concerns regarding the railways? Simple. First one, passenger to freight ratio. Passenger to freight ratio is very low in India, which means the amount of tariffs that we impose and collect, the amount of tariff that I impose and collect from the passenger is lesser compared to the amount of tariff that I impose and collect from a passenger. I'm sorry, from the freight. Why does it happen? Very simple. It happens because we provide subsidization. I hope you understand. We provide subsidization in case of passenger transportation, and that will impact the revenues that are generated by the Indian Railways. Second, over a period of time, historically, if you see, the railways accounted for most of the freight transportation. For example, 1951, 1950s and 60s, more than 70% of the total transportation that happened in India was done through railways. But over a period of time, that has kept on declining. Roadways has kept on increasing. Roadways today accounts for around 60%, 50 to 60% of the total freight transportation, whereas railways accounts for around 30%. Remaining is through civil, that is air mode of transportation, as well as waterways mode of transportation. Why it has happened? We have seen certain reasons as to why this has declined. And what is the impact? If it reduces, the revenue generation is very, very less. Third impact, a third problem in case of railways is the operating ratio in case of railways is very high. Operating ratio is what? It is the ratio of total expenditure that you are going to incur to generate revenues. In fact, I said in the last 10 years, Indian Railways has recorded the highest operating ratio of around 98.4. Around 98.4, it has been the highest operating ratio that has been recorded by Indian Railways, which means we are spending a lot of money, very high amount of money to generate revenues. Then what are the reforms? What kind of reforms have been implemented by the government in order to address this issue of problems in the railways? We have seen National Rail Plan 2030. We have seen, right, a bullet train project, the merger of union budget, the railway budget with union budget, right? The reforms to promote safety and security in case of railways, etc. So that is the point that you have covered yesterday. Let me continue. Let me take up the next concept, next type of infrastructure, roads. Now, point number one, anybody wants me to define what is the road? Right, let me know. Road is one of the mode of a transportation. In fact, the most favored mode of a transportation in case of India. Roads have been developed by the private sector. Please remember, roads in India are developed by the private sector, are also developed by the government. It could be local government, it could be, right, let's say the state government. Roads are developed by the central government also. So basically, private sector as well as the government, both are present in case of development of roads. Second important point, if you connect the total length of the roads in India, if you connect the total length of the roads, I'll come back to this slide, don't worry. The total length of the roads in case of India is more than 63 lakh kilometers. More than 63 lakh kilometers. Please remember this. And again, do not by heart this number. Why? From one year to next year, the data will keep on changing. It's not that, I'm pretty sure all of you know that. It's not that government says we are not going to construct any amount of roads now. On day-to-day basis, road construction takes place in India. So do not by heart this number. So overall length of the road in case of India is more than 63 lakh kilometers, which is one of the largest road networks in the global market. Right? India has one of the largest road networks in the global market. That's the second point. Third point, from the context of the central government, which ministry, from the context of central government, which ministry actually is responsible for taking care of road infrastructure in case of India? Remember this, there is a Ministry of Road Transportation and Highways. Ministry of Road Transportation and Highways. Road Transportation and Highways. This is the ministry. Right? Mr. Nitin Gadkari is the minister. Okay. MORTH. MORTH. That is a short form, Ministry of Road Transportation and Highways. So at the center level, it is this ministry which is responsible for implementation of road infrastructure projects or taking care of overall road infrastructure projects in India. Now, what are the issues? What are the concerns regarding the road infrastructure? If you ask me, please do not by heart how many national highways are there, how many national highways will run from left to right, that is east to west, west to east, or north to south, south to north. It's useless. Please do not by heart it. Those kind of concepts are only relevant for other exams, let's say maybe banking exam, SSC, etc. But for UPSC, I don't expect UPSC will ask you a question which which highway will run from left to right or right to left. That is of no material consequence to you. But think of it, please think of it. When I say don't by heart, it doesn't mean you will have to skip everything. For example, please do let me know, in light of the Balasore accident, I repeat, in the light of Balasore accident, can UPSC ask you, right, what is that name of the railways, right? About that railways, can they ask you? Please think of it. In the light of Balasore accident, because of that I'm saying, because of that, can they ask you what is that railway, right? What is the services, right? What is the average, right, length of this railway route, etc. Possibility is there or not? But apart from that, please do let me know, is there any consequence of these kind of railways in case of UPSC exam? For example, Vande Bharat. Vande Bharat has been operating for many years now. It's not that yesterday Vande Bharat started operating. It has started operating for many years. So far, UPSC has not asked a question. Suddenly, if something happens, right, some technology has been introduced, or let's say, right, a certain accident has taken place, and that is the precise reason why UPSC might pick up. I'm not saying they will pick up. I'm saying they might pick up that article. They might ask a question around that article. So that's the reason whenever you come across infrastructure, you don't have to remember how many railway lines are there, how many roads are there, how much, right, let's say state highways are there. That is of no consequence for UPSC. If there is some relevant issue, if something is related, only then they'll pick up the question. Okay, so keep your eyes open. If something is there in the newspaper regarding this, then focus on it. Now come to the issues related to road infrastructure. What are the issues? First one, land acquisition has become a problem for construction of road infrastructure. Anybody has a problem with this? Land acquisition has become a problem for road infrastructure. Many infrastructure projects, including roadways, have faced this issue of land acquisition. Right? Bullet train project has faced. I'll give you one more example. Have you heard of Silver Line railway project? Silver Line project, Kerala government. They also faced opposition for land acquisition. Right? Many other infrastructure projects, including roadways, land acquisition is a problem. And now in case of roadways, what has been done, I'll tell you, I'll give you the reform. Just give me 1 minute. Second, out of all the highways in India, out of the total road network, there is a very small percentage of the road network which can be called as a national highway. Now, why this is important? Please tell me. Don't you think most of the freight transportation in case of India will be done using national highways? Think of it. Please think of it. If you want to transport in India, will you use, let's say rural roads, or will you use national highways? So we mainly use national highways because the lanes are, multiple lanes are there, right? The quality of the road is much more superior. Transportation can be done easily, etc. So national highways is mainly used for transportation in India. But if you look at the breakup, please have a look at the breakup. You do not by heart the numbers, remember the percentages. If you look at the breakup, out of total length of 63 plus lakh kilometers, out of the total length of 63 plus lakh kilometers, the state highways account for around 2.6% and the national highways account for 2.2%. If you put both of them together, can I say around 5%? I'm rounding off the number. If you put both of them together, around 5% of the total road network in case of India consists of highways. Now, look at the other part of it. What is the corollary to this? Corollary is 95% of the total road network is other roads. Sir, what do you mean by other roads? Right? Have you seen the roads within the cities? Have you seen the roads within the villages? The roads which will connect the cities and villages, etc. These are other roads. So 95% of the roads in case of India are other roads, and only around 5% of the roads are highways. And within that also, national highways is just 2.2%. Now, please do let me know, right? Do you think in a country where most of the transportation happens through road, point number one, point number two, most of the road network is just other roads. Please think of it and now tell me, don't you think because of this time taken for transportation will be higher? Let me know. Because of this time taken for transportation, will it be higher or not? Yes. What about cost of transportation? What do you think will happen to cost of transportation? The cost of transportation will also be very, very high. In fact, let me prove it with an example. I'll take a current affairs example. Delhi Mumbai Expressway. Delhi Mumbai Expressway. Government of India's data says that once this Delhi Mumbai Expressway is completed, it is not yet complete, only certain parts, certain stretches are completed. Once the Delhi Mumbai Expressway completely is operational, time taken will come down, right? The average speed on this road is much higher, so you can reach the destination much sooner. The consumption of fuel will also come down. Now please think of it, if all of this is possible, can I say cost of transportation, cost of logistics automatically will come down? All of you okay with this? Cost of logistics, cost of the transportation automatically will come down. So whenever you come across this statement, right, connect the dots. Whenever you come across the statement which says the logistics cost in India is very high, one of the reason is the cost of transportation is very high. And now question is, why cost of transportation is very high? Because most of the transportation is done through road network, and within road network there is very small percentage of the road which can be classified as national highways. And within this also, even Government of India says, within this also, how many roadways, this is national highways, how many roadways are 4-laned, how many national highways are 6-laned, how many of them are 8-laned? It's a very, very small percentage. I'll repeat my statement. Even within this national highways, how many of these national highways are 4-lane, 6-lane and 8-lane? It's a very, very small percentage, which further, right, basically hammers the point that cost of transportation would be higher, time taken for transportation would be higher. Now, those who are asking how can 4-lane, 6-lane national highways affect the time taken cost for transportation, please do let me know. If you are transporting from point A to point B, let's say 5,000 kilometers distance or 2,000 kilometer distance, point A to point B, what would you prefer? a 2-laned national highway or a 6-laned national highway? Let me know. What would you prefer? Right? Infrastructure wise, what would you prefer? A 2-laned national highway or a 6-laned or 8-lane national highway? Don't you think 6, 8, 10, 12-lane national highways are much better? Some of you are saying, sir, I will prefer 2-laned. My dear, there is a very famous example given by one of the economists during one of the discussions. Don't worry about the economist. But think of it. Please think of it. The time taken, right? Whatever could be the quality of the national highway, the time taken ultimately depends upon how many lanes you have in a national highway. Why? You can have a Ferrari driving on this road, but if there is only one lane and in front of Ferrari there is a bullock cart. Think of this. Let me give you a very simple example. You might have a Ferrari, right, driving on this particular road, and in front of a Ferrari, if there's a bullock cart, and if there is only one lane national highway, do you think time taken by this Ferrari car will be lesser? Think of it. Time taken by this Ferrari car to reach the destination would be lesser. No, it will take a very long period of time. Why? Ferrari car doesn't matter. There is only one lane. Bullock cart is there, and behind that there is Ferrari. Right? You might have a 12 bhp, 20 bhp, 2000 bhp, whatever horsepower you might have. Because there's a bullock cart ahead of you, you will not be able to overtake it. You will have to go behind this only. So I hope you understand. I hope you understand the logic behind it. Again, don't write this example in UPSC. Don't write it. But I hope you understand why multiple lanes are better. Right? Why multiple lanes are better. Having multiple lanes, especially 6-lane, 8-lane, 10-lane, 12-lane, etc. It is always better. For example, I'll take the same one again. Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. Right? Don't you think Government of India has announced this? In future, if more lanes are required in this expressway, we already have acquired the land. We'll be able to extend, create more number of lanes. If you don't trust me, read it. Read it very carefully, you'll understand it. Government of India right now has stated, we have created certain number of lanes in Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. But in future, if there is more traffic, if I want to extend, if I want to create more lanes, then I already have land. I'll be able to create more lanes in this expressway. So this is one more very important point. Please remember this. So I'll come back to the problem again. Large portion of the roads in case of India are basically other roads. Only small percentage is national highway. And within this also, very small percentage is 4-lane, 6-lane, 8-lane national highways. Next, cost of transportation in case of India is very higher. Already we have very less road network of national highways. Now every 40 kilometers, every 50 kilometers, there is a toll. And as a result of this, don't you think, again further, the time taken for transportation will increase? Right? The cost of transportation automatically will start increasing. So cost of transportation is higher through national highways or let's say road networks in India. Lot of delays, right, are experienced in the completion of projects. Either the court will intervene or one of the department will delay giving clearances, right, or land acquisition will go to the court, right, there is a dispute on the land that has been acquired, etc. So lot of delays have been observed in the completion of road infrastructure projects. Large part of the logistics sector is unorganized, right? Remember the term here. Large part of the logistics is unorganized in India, informal in nature. First and foremost, what do you mean by logistics? Logistics refers to set of activities that you will undertake to move a product from point A to point B. I've told you this earlier in case of GST discussion. Again, I'm repeating it. What is logistics? It refers to set of activities, type of activities that one will undertake to move a product from point A to point B. That is called as logistics. For example, packaging, right, is part of logistics, right? Warehousing, transportation, all these are part of logistics only. Now imagine you are a manufacturer. You're a very large manufacturer. You're producing in one state and you want to ensure that this product will reach in multiple states. The product will reach multiple states. That is what you want to do. Now, in this context, please tell me, would you prefer a logistics company which is set up across India or a local logistics supplier? Think of it. You're a manufacturer. You're producing the state of, let's say, Gujarat. You're producing in the state of, let's say, Tamil Nadu, or you're producing in Maharashtra. Now you want to move this, right, to northeastern part of India. You want to move it to western part of India. You want to move it to southern part of India. So don't you think in this particular context, if you want to use the logistics company, you want to use a logistics company which is very large, which has warehouses across India, which has a lot of trucks which can be used for transportation. For that to happen, you need organized logistics sector or formal logistics sector, right? Very large companies, very large companies can provide these kind of facilities. Now, if these are very small companies, unorganized, informal in nature, local level suppliers, don't you think the cost for warehousing would be higher for you? The cost of right moving across the state would be a burden for you, right? You will not be having a seamless mode of transportation across India. So that becomes a problem. Most part of the logistics in case of India, it is unorganized. Unorganized, very small players are present. They will not be able to provide the services across India for you. And if you want to promote manufacturing, if you want to promote a make in India, you want to promote, right, let's say production of goods and services in India, you should have organized a logistics sector. So that is one more concern regarding, right, the overall infrastructure, specifically targeting road infrastructure. Done. So these are some of the issues associated with the road infrastructure. Now, right, apart from this, please have a look at the data here. Before I go forward, have a look at this data. Before I go forward, please look at the right side of the PPT. There's a pie chart. There is a simple pie chart which has been given. I've given you this data earlier, but just to consolidate it. What is this data? If you remember earlier, we have discussed concept of PPP, correct? Let me know. Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, we have not discussed PPP, then I'll say, my dear, open yesterday's PPT. Yesterday's PPT only we have discussed PPP, by the way, public-private partnership. And if you remember, I told you one point, one concern regarding PPP. What is the concern? Most of the PPP projects implemented by the central government, these are there in the roads sector. And second concern I said was, most of these PPP infrastructure projects are there in developed states or let's say industrial states such as Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, etc. Now, please have a look at where most of the PPP projects are implemented by the central government. Please have a look at it. More than half of the PPP projects which are implemented by the center are in the roads sector, and remaining are there in ports, airports, right, etc. These are others, which is around 45%. Right? So this is one more data set. Please remember this. Now, what are the reforms? What kind of reforms have been implemented by the center to promote a road infrastructure project? Point number one. Have you heard of FASTag? Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, what is this FASTag? I've never heard of it. Right? Many of you, I'm pretty sure, you have seen it, you have used it, you have cars or your parents have cars, your friends have cars, right? You have been traveling from one national highway to another national highway. You have already paid the toll using the FASTag. Now, please tell me, what is the advantage of FASTag? Advantage. I don't want you to know the process under economics. What is the advantage of FASTag? Can I simply say, compared to earlier, now you will take lesser time to cross a toll? Yes or no? Compared to earlier situation, earlier what used to happen? You will go, right? You will stand in the counter, then you will start searching for money. You will search, then you will pay, and the person behind you will keep on honking at you. And now the other person who has received cash will give you a receipt. Then the other person will start searching for the cash, right? They will give cash. Now you will count the change. Then you will start moving, right? You will cross the toll. By the time, imagine the time that has been consumed, right? How many, right? Let's say vehicles will be queued up behind you, etc., etc. So in simple terms, time taken for crossing a toll would be higher, congestion would be higher. That is, number of vehicles in the queue would keep on increasing. Now, instead of that, government says we will use a FASTag. It is mandatory. It is compulsory now. In case of a FASTag, a technology used, a scanner will be used, and once you go, right, stand below the scanner or ahead of the scanner, they will scan, and the money will be deducted from your account. That is basically concept of FASTag. Now, because of this, the time taken will reduce, congestion will reduce, and it will help in easier, seamless transportation across national highways. So, all of you are okay with FASTag now? Please do let me know. It will reduce congestion, it will reduce the time taken, it will increase the distance that can be covered. All of you remember GST? Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, what is this GST? I'm hearing GST for the first time, goods and services tax. Now, please tell me, with implementation of GST, has the time taken for transportation reduced or not? Has the time taken for transportation of goods, has it reduced across the state boundaries? Of course, yes. In fact, we have discussed earlier check post concept was there, right? And now there is no check post, easier movement across the border, as a result of which on day-to-day basis, more distance can be covered. So let me know. These two reforms will reduce the time taken for transportation, as well as cost of transportation will also come down. Right, so first very important reform is the FASTag as well as the goods and services tax. Second, in order to promote the development of national highways, government is promoting a new model of investment. We are promoting a new model of investment such as a hybrid annuity model. So PPP model, we have a EPC, we have BOT, we have a hybrid annuity model. So new models of a promotion of road infrastructure are being used by the government, right? Hybrid annuity model. That's a second important reform. Third very important reform, logistics sector has been given infrastructure status. Now, please tell me, those who have revised, read, etc., please tell me, did we come across the term infrastructure status in earlier classes? Let's see. Let's see how many of you remember. We have come across it. I am checking whether you remember. I remember. I know that. Right? Did we come across the term infrastructure status earlier? Yes. If you remember, the cold chain infrastructure projects, have been given infrastructure status. Right? I wrote that. It has been given infrastructure status. Now, what do you mean by infrastructure status? Please understand the objective behind it. Whenever any infrastructure project is given the status of infrastructure, it simply means they can borrow for longer duration from the market. They will be allowed to borrow from some of the investors who want to invest for longer duration in the market. For example, there are certain investors, for example, insurance companies, pension companies. And remember this, insurance companies and pension companies always prefer to invest for longer duration, not for shorter duration. So they'll be able to approach these kind of investors, issue instruments. Sir, what kind of instruments? Can I say bonds? Think of it, right? Can these companies be allowed to issue bonds now, long-term bonds, and borrow from the market? Of course, yes. Second, can borrow at a lower rate of interest from the external market as well. Can they approach under ECB? Can they approach external market and borrow at a lower rate of interest? Of course, answer is correct. And third one, they will become eligible to borrow from certain financial institutions which will provide infrastructure loans. Simple. They will be able to approach certain institutions which will provide infrastructure loans. For example, do you remember NABFID? Do you think any BFID will provide, right, let's say personal loan to you and me? Do you think any BFID will provide gold loan to you and me? No, any BFID is infrastructure financing. And there is also one more company in India, India Infrastructure Financing Company. So whenever you are given infrastructure status, these are the advantages. These are the advantages. You can take loans for a longer duration easily in the market. So cold chain has been given infrastructure status. Even the logistics sector has been given infrastructure status by the government. And because I'm discussing so much about loans, just a deviation now, just a detour. Today's Hindu newspaper, any important article in today's Hindu newspaper? The first page, there is an article on inflation. The first page, there is an article on inflation. Please read that. Then there is a central page article, editorial, frictionless credit. Have you come across the concept of frictionless credit in the last 2 weeks? Let me know. In fact, even in the classroom, I gave you an idea of what is a frictionless credit. Right? There is the article in Hindu newspaper. Please read that. Please read that. Very nice article, by the way. And lucky for you, small article. It's not a very large article, very small article, editorial. And the third important article, again, not very, very important, but again, to a certain extent important, there is an article about onion. Union government minister has asked farmers, has requested farmers not to go for distress sales of onion because the government agencies are procuring onion and selling it in the market. Right? There is an article about onion procurement. Please, onion, whatever you want to call it as. Right? There is an article on that. Please read that. So, as far as I am concerned, in Hindu newspaper, these 3 articles are important. Do not miss out. Please read it. Please read it. Okay. So this is one more very important reform in the context of road infrastructure. Next, Government of India has also set up a new division under the Ministry of Commerce. Right, a new division has been set up, that is a logistics division. Now, what is this logistics division? Point number 1, it has been created in the year 2017. The logistics division has been set up, has been created in 2017. It has been tasked with integrated development of logistics sector. What do you mean by integrated development? For example, if there are any policies of Government of India which are actually hindering means slowing, hindering the process of road infrastructure, logistics infrastructure, this division can give recommendation to government. They can advise Government of India to make changes to the policy. Imagine a new technology is available which can be promoted in making the transportation much more easier, much more smoother, seamless transportation can be done. So adoption of technology can be promoted by this division. It will give certain recommendation to adjust existing procedures, to make changes to the existing procedures to Government of India. If there are any issues in the whole logistics sector, then they will identify the issues and give recommendation to the government. Right? So these are some of the let's say functions, some of the duties of the logistics division, which has been set up very, very recently by the government. And this is one more very important reform. Now, some of you might ask, sir, what is the use of this? What is the use of it? My dear, please tell me, don't you think having a separate division for logistics sector will mean that there is more emphasis on the development of logistics sector that is given by the Government of India now? Think of it. Having a separate division, does it not mean government is now focused on the promotion of logistics sector? Government wants you to participate in it as a private sector. If there are any issues, there is a division, get in touch with, raise your concerns. Now government will try to address it. That's the whole argument. Okay. Now, in order to promote road connectivity, construction of roads, Government of India also has launched Bharatmala Pariyojana. under Bharatmala Pariyojana, the total target that the government of India wants to construct roads, the total target is 34,800 kilometers. Now, under this Bharatmala Pariyojana, government wants to construct roads in border areas. They want to construct roads in coastal areas, etc. Right? So, under Bharatmala Pariyojana, the target is basically to construct different types of roads and not normal national highways in coastal region, in border regions, etc. That is the target under Bharatmala Pariyojana. Next, Bhumi Rashi Land Acquisition Portal. Understand this carefully. Bhumi Rashi is a portal that has been established, that has been set up by the Ministry of Road Transportation and Highways. Okay, it's a portal. It's a website which has been set up by the Ministry of Road Transportation and Highways. Now, why? What is the use of this Bhumi Rashi portal? Let me explain this. Listen to me carefully. Imagine you are the minister, okay, right? At 6:45, I'm making you the minister for road transportation and highways. Now, you want to acquire certain amount of land. Earlier, what used to happen? Your ministry will prepare a proposal. It will prepare a list of the people from whom you will have to acquire the land. Now, this list, this particular file will be sent to Ministry of Finance. It will be sent to Prime Minister's office. It will be sent to Ministry of Urban Development if you are acquiring land in an urban area. Ministry of Rural Development if land is acquired in a rural part of India. Ministry of Agriculture if agriculture land has to be acquired, etc. Now, please think of it. A physical file, right? A physical file will keep on moving from one department to another department, one authority to another authority. Don't you think the time taken for getting all the clearances, all the approvals will be very, very long? Yes or no? If the files will keep on moving from one table to another table, one ministry to another ministry, can it take a very longer time period? Will it delay the process of acquiring land, etc.? Rather than this, now a new portal has been set up by the Ministry of the Highways, under which they want to speed up. Expedite means simply speed up the process. They want to increase the speed of getting all these clearances. How it will be done? Rather than having a physical file, now digitally, all these approvals will be obtained digitally. I repeat, the proposal, how much land is required, what are the lands survey numbers that we'll be acquiring, how much of it is in rural India, how much of it is in urban India, etc. All of this will be prepared online. It's a digital file. Now, this digital file will be sent to all the relevant ministries. Now, please think of it. Compared to earlier situation, will the new system reduce the time taken for getting approvals? Yes or no? Will it reduce the time taken? Of course, yes. It will help easier, right, approvals for land acquisition. That is basically the concept of Bhumi Rashi portal that has been set up now. It has made the land acquisition for national highways error-free and more transparent. Under this, the notification at every stage will be processed in real-time basis because we are not looking at physical documents. Everything is being done online now. The portal has been created for expediting the process for publication of notification for land acquisition. After launching the portal, look at the time frame. After launching the portal, government says the processing time for land acquisition that was earlier, it used to take multiple weeks, that used to take multiple months. Now it can be done in 2 weeks. It has been reduced just to 2 weeks itself. Everything is being done through the portal, through online systems. That is one more very important reform, Bhumi Rashi portal. Okay. So these are some of the very important points regarding road infrastructure in case of India. Anybody has got any kind of issues? Can we go forward? Let me know. Sir, what you're discussing, is it there in book? My dear, these concepts are not there in book. I've taken everything from current affairs. What is Bharatmala? My dear, Bharatmala initiative, under that, Government of India targeted construction of certain length of road. It was actually broken down into two component in the sense that the total 34,800 kilometers are broken into two components. One is around 25,000 kilometers and the second one is 10,000 kilometers. In fact, if you are reading newspapers, the Bharatmala Pariyojana phase 1, the phase 1 of Bharatmala Pariyojana was supposed to be completed by 2022. I repeat, the phase 1 of Bharatmala Pariyojana was supposed to be completed by 2022. But what has happened? Because of the pandemic, because of unavailability of labor, etc., now Government of India says we will not be able to complete Bharatmala Pariyojana by 2022. We will be able to achieve this by 2027. We'll be able to achieve this by 2027. So simple idea. We want to construct a 34,800 kilometers length of road network. Point number 1. Point number 2, there are two phases under Bharatmala Pariyojana, phase 1 and phase 2. Point number 3, right, the total length of road network consists of coastal roads, border roads, etc. These are the important points. Done? What types of main questions asked from here? Right, you cannot expect what kind of questions UPSC will ask. Right, for example, earlier there is a question on PPP. Discuss, right, the advantages of PPP in airports. Earlier that question was asked by UPSC. Right, earlier Gati Shakti, right, if you have checked the question papers, not in GS paper 3, but in other GS paper, right, the target was geography there. There was a question on Gati Shakti, what is the importance of Gati Shakti initiative, etc. So I hope you understand. Right, so basically, I hope you understand different types of questions have been asked and they can ask you all of this. Okay, done? How publication of notification is a reform? My dear, publication of notification is not a reform. The time taken, the overall time taken has been reduced. That is the reform. I hope you understand. Some of you are asking how publication of a notification can become a reform. I did not say publication is a reform. I said through the portal, we have been able to cut short the time that is generally consumed. That is the reform. That is the point. Okay. Again, sir, how can this be reform? How can that be reform? Don't waste your time. Simply by heart them. Simply by heart them. Okay. Next, port infrastructure. Next one is port infrastructure. Now, please have a look at the picture that is there in the slide. Please have a look at the picture. Why? Rather than explaining that everything related to port, if you have a look at the picture, it is much more easier to understand. What can you see in the picture? Point number 1, can you see containers here? Let me know. Anybody, right, who is not able to see, please do let me know. Can you see the containers? Can you see this? These are nothing but containers. Sir, what is the use of the containers? You want to export a good, you will put in the container will be taken. You want to import something, all the goods will be put in containers will be used for transportation. Point number 2, can you see certain infrastructure, that is basically crane infrastructure here? Let me know. Can you see crane infrastructure? Certain infrastructure is there. Sir, what is the use of this infrastructure? This infrastructure is actually used either to load containers into the ship or take off, unload the containers from the ship. Any problem, please do let me know right now. Because why? Suddenly I will say technology used in India is lower. And you will ask me, sir, what is the use of technology? Simple argument. Can you see the containers or not? Yes. Can you see a vessel which is standing here? Let me know. A vessel which is standing here. There is one vessel here, ship. Vessel is nothing but ship. There is one more vessel here. There is one more vessel here, etc. We'll use all these points. Please remember them. Right? Don't keep on asking why all of this is important, etc. You will use all of the points. Now, point number 1. Ports generally are divided into two parts or two types. The ports are divided into two types in India. One is called as a major port. Second one, minor ports. I am writing minor. Some of the times they will also use a term non-major port. Okay, don't be confused. Sometimes they will also use a term non-major port. So major port, non-major port. Point number one. Point number two. How many major ports are there in India? 12 major ports are operational in India. There are 12 major ports which are operational in India. And interesting fact, if you have seen how the major ports are located, 6 are located in the eastern coast of India, 6 are located in the western coast of India. Okay, along the eastern coast as well as western coast, these are 12 the major ports which are operational are located. In fact, Government of India has proposed a 13th major port. As far as I know, it is not yet operational. It will take time. It will take time. Okay. Now, 12 major ports are operating in India. Now, these major ports are controlled in the sense that they will come under the regulation which are set up by the central government. I'll repeat the statement. The major ports, central government will have a law. Under the law, these 12 major ports are regulated. Which law has been implemented by the government? The Major Port Authorities Act. Central government has implemented Major Port Authorities Act, under which all these 12 major ports are regulated. These 12 major ports will account for handling 54% of the cargo. That is, most of the cargo, or more than half of the cargo, is handled by these 12 ports in India. And right, already mentioned, these come under the jurisdiction of the central government. Now, what is a minor port? Minor ports do not come under the jurisdiction of the central government. These come under the jurisdiction of the state governments. They will come under the jurisdiction of the state governments. There are more than 200 non-major ports or minor ports in India. These account for around 45%, around 45% of the cargo traffic. And these will come under jurisdiction of the state government already mentioned. Right, so this is basically the classification of major as well as a minor port. What is cargo? Cargo means anything that will be transported. Right, in case of railways, we use the term freight. In case of ports, we use the term cargo. For example, can you import a car? Car is called as a cargo. Can you import a steel into India? Steel is called as a cargo. Cargo is a very general term, very generic term, which is used, right, in case of the port sector. Right? Cargo means anything that is imported or exported. It could be a good, it could be a material, it could be anything. Right? So that is basically the term cargo. And as expected, two of the students are asking, sir, you have written 54% and 45%. Where is the remaining 1%? My dear, please read very carefully. I have written around 54% and over 45%. These are not absolutely right exact numbers. These are not absolute numbers. Certain decimals are there. I have not written decimals. So if you take even the decimals, right, overall it will be 100%. Okay, right. So basically, most of the cargo that is handled in India, it has been handled by the major ports. But if you look at it, historically, most of the cargo, there was a point of time when more than 70%, more than, right, 60% of the cargo was actually handled by the major ports. But over a period of time, even the non-major ports or minor ports, they have started becoming more and more competitive. And over a period of time, these are also accounting for more and more cargo to be handled by the minor ports. Right, so this is basically the division of port infrastructure in India. Now, what are the issues in the ports? What are the problems in the ports? Point number one, the turnaround time is very high in India. I repeat, turn around time. They will use a short form of this, TAT. Turn around time is very higher in case of India compared to the global average. What is the global average? The global average is somewhere around 1 day. around 1 day. And many of the ports have a turnaround time of 16 hours. Many ports have 18 hours. In case of India, the turnaround time is around 2 days. It is around 2 days. What do you mean by turnaround time? Please have a look at the definition here. The average time taken between arrival and departure time for the vessels. Vessels are nothing but ships here. Sir, why do they take so much amount of time? Please have a look at the picture here. Please have a look at the picture. Point number 1. Please tell me what kind of technology we use for loading the containers and unloading the containers. Can it have an impact on turnaround time of the vessels? Think of it and please do let me know. Whatever kind of technology we used to load and unload containers, will it have an impact on turnaround time? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. It will have a large amount of time. Second, right? How many places are there in a port? Places, these are called as berths. B-E-R-T-H, berth in a port. Right? Just imagine, right? Imagine there are only 4 cranes which are there in a port. Imagine there are only 4 cranes. And let's say 8 ships will come. 8 ships will come and we need to unload containers from all the 8 ships. Now, please tell me, will it take more time or not? Very simple argument. Right? Do not complicate all of this. For a common man, all of this is not required. But you tell me, right? With this kind of a technology, with a lower number of berths, etc., will it have an impact on, right, turnaround time? Answer is yes. Answer is simply yes. That is the precise reason the turnaround time in case of India, it is more than the global average. It is more than the global average. Second, poor infrastructure, right? Or let's say we need to update. We are having old technology, old infrastructure, we need to update it. What is the issue here? The roads within the ports and connecting the ports, we need to develop these roads. I'll come to this point, don't worry. Machinery and cargo handling equipments that we have, these are inadequate. We need to have better kind of equipments. We need to have more equipments. Any problem with this part? This should be very clear to you at least now. Having looked at the picture, the number of equipments we have, the type of equipments we have, we need to work on that. We need to improve upon that so that, right, the infrastructure in the port will improve and automatically the turnaround time will also come down. Now, what is this roads which are connecting ports as well as within the ports? Why are we talking about it? Right? Why are we talking about it? Reason is simple. Have you seen the vehicles which are used for transporting these containers? Let me know. Have you seen the vehicles which are used for transportation of these containers? Are these small vehicles or very large vehicles? Right? These are very, very large vehicles, which means you should have longer, right? Let's say you should have more number of roads. Is the logic okay? Lanes. I'm talking about lanes. You will have to have more number of lanes. And you should also ensure that any road that is used for entering into port, right? Any road that is used for entering into port and exiting the port, there also you should have sufficient number of lanes. Otherwise, please tell me, with these longer vehicles and larger vehicles, will the congestion to enter into port increase or not? The congestion while exiting the port, will it increase or not? Of course, yes. Right, I hope you understand the logic behind it. Congestion will be very, very high. And please understand the next problem. Companies hire these services. Companies actually hire these services. If you take more time to enter into port, will the time for transportation increase? Will the cost of transportation increase? Yes. If you are taking more time to exit the port, time taken increases, cost, right, which is incurred will also start increasing. So there is a need to develop a better quality road infrastructure which are within the port as well as which are connecting the port infrastructure in India. Any problem with this? Can we go forward? Any problem, please do let me know. And this road infrastructure is very important. Some of you might simply say, sir, why should we focus on road infrastructure? My dear, most of the transportation in case of India is done through road only. It is done through road. So don't you think you should work on the road infrastructure, especially near the ports and within the ports? Next, suboptimal modal mix. Suboptimal modal mix. Most of the transportation in case of India is done through the road network. It is very, very inefficient. It is very inefficient. Why? The cost of transportation is very high. The emissions that you're causing is also very high. Then what should be the alternative to this? What should be the alternative for the road network? The alternative is waterways. We'll discuss waterways in couple of minutes. Have patience. The alternative to the road network is waterways. We'll come to this. Next, time taken for getting custom clearances. Customs clearances means, imagine you will have to import a product. You will have to first go to the customs officials, submit all the documents, then they will allow you to import this good, right? Or they will allow you to take the good out of the port. Until unless you do not get the custom clearances, you are not allowed to take these goods outside the port infrastructure. So getting clearances through customs, until very recently, it was very time consuming process. In fact, now Government of India has introduced the concept of Turant Customs. Turant Customs. What do you mean by Turant Customs? You can submit all these applications to import a good online. Everything will be done online now. Paperless customs process has been introduced. Right? So Turant Customs has been introduced in order to ensure a seamless, smoother clearances by the customs officials. And finally, issues with the linkages with other regions. Right? India, understand this, India exports a lot of goods, imports a lot of goods. Now imagine you're a manufacturing facility which is present in Madhya Pradesh, and have a look at this. Imagine manufacturing unit is there in Madhya Pradesh and you have imported raw material. It is sitting in Tamil Nadu port. It is sitting, let's say, in the port of West Bengal, in the port of Odisha, or it is sitting right in Bombay port or Gujarat port for that matter. Don't you think what is the connectivity to these inner parts of or inner regions of India? These connectivity will also make a lot of difference whether the imports can be done very easily, right, or on time basis, or the cost of imports is very, very high. Right? So issues with the linkages with other regions, other parts of India as well. Okay, so these are some of the very important concerns regarding, right, the port infrastructure or overall import and export using port infrastructure. Done? Now, what reforms have been implemented? What reforms? I'll discuss two very important reforms here. First one is Sagarmala Initiative of Government of India. First one is Sagarmala Initiative. What is this Sagarmala Initiative? Please understand this. Under Sagarmala Initiative, Government of India, one, wants to ensure that the cost of transportation will be reduced. How they will do that? Have patience, I'll tell you. They want to reduce cost of transportation. They want to make it easier, right, for importing as well as exporting through containers from India. They want to make it easier. They want to promote the time taken or optimize the time taken for importing as well as exporting through containers from India. Point number 3, they want to promote export competitiveness. They want to promote export competitiveness. And fourth one, they want to ensure in the future, whenever industries are established, these are established nearby the port, nearby the portal region or coastal region in India. Now, how are we trying to achieve all these objectives under Sagarmala? What are we doing under Sagarmala to achieve all of them? Point number 1, we will go for port modernization. We'll go for modernization of the ports. That is, old ports are there. We'll try to introduce a new technology, new equipments. We will try to promote more mechanization in the older ports. And in addition to the older ports, we will also construct new ports in order to promote more and more exports from India and import easily into India. That is point number 1, pillar 1 under Sagarmala. Pillar 2, port connectivity. We have seen that there's a problem. Problem is what? We are importing or we are exporting from other parts of India. Road connectivity is very poor. There is no proper rail connectivity. There is no waterway connectivity. So government of India says we will upgrade rail or road connectivity, and we will also develop inland waterways. Right? We will also develop inland waterways. I'll come to waterways in a minute. Have patience. Third one, port-led industrialization. Now please think of it. Imagine this is the port. Okay, imagine this is a port. What would you prefer? Assuming this is India, right? The lower part of India, coastal region. What would you prefer? Setting up industry which is involved in the exporting nearby the portal region or coastal region, or establishing this manufacturing facility in other part of India? Don't you think establishing these industries nearby the coastal regions will promote easier exports, will promote easier imports? For example, sir, any country which has done it, I believe, or I hope, at least I believe I've told you this when I discussed special economic zones. I said, if you look at China, you can do it even today, by the way. If you look at China, where have they developed their special economic zones? Most of their special economic zones are there in the coastal regions. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. Most of their special economic zones are present in the coastal regions, very nearby to port region, right? For example, have a look at it later. All of you heard of LOC? Let me know. All of you heard of LOC, right? The border of China, southern border of China, there is a sea called as LOC. If you look at the LOC, along the borders of LOC, you will see multiple ports. And along the ports, you will see multiple special economic zones which are established in China. And these are not smaller SEZs. These are very, very large SEZs. And what is basically the objective of an SEZ? What is basically an objective of SEZ? Is it not to promote exports? Is it not to import a raw material and promote more and more exports? So when you are present nearby the port itself, when you're present nearby the port, right, you do not have to be worried about bad road infrastructure. You do not have to be worried about waterway connectivity, etc., because you are very near to the port. You can easily export them from India to rest of the world. That is the precise reason. Now under Sagarmala, we want to promote coastal industries. We want to promote coastal SEZs, special economic zones. Does it make sense or not? Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, it doesn't make any sense, we need not follow all of them? My dear, it makes perfect sense. Next, coastal community development. Coastal community development. Coastal tourism projects can be promoted. Fishing harbors can be promoted. Right, fish processing centers can also be promoted right nearby the coastal region itself. Right, in fact, right, let me know, is Government of India promoting coastal tourism projects now? Let me know. Right, is Government of India promoting coastal tourism projects? Right, yes, government is actually promoting tourism projects in the coastal regions. Right, so these are some of the very important pillars, right, the 4 pillars of right Sagarmala initiative. Can we go forward now? Okay. How ports are in LOC? There is no sea. My dear, who said go to LOC? I said, right, I'm talking about southern part of India. At least that physical geography, at least that part of physical geography I know. Right, we do not have sea, right, where we have LOC. I'm talking about coastal region. Where do you think there is a coastal region? And so wherever coastal region is there, argument is that. Okay. Right? Don't go to India-Pakistan border and set up the coastal region there. There is no sea there. I know that. But that is the reason I was talking about the coastal region in India. Okay. But port-led industrialization would create regional indifferences and it may reduce the development of non-coastal states. Any positive reform after this situation? My dear, why do you always assume? This is the only reform which will lead to a disparity? Right? Don't you think PLI can be promoted throughout India? Let me know. I hope you understand. PLI will be promoted throughout India. Make in India can be promoted throughout India. So there is already various industrial policies which are being promoted throughout India. What government says is special economic zones are for exporting purposes. So it makes more sense for you to set up SEZ near the port rather than away from the port, especially if you're a manufacturing SEZ. If you're a service sector SEZ, it doesn't matter because you are not exporting through containers. You can set up throughout India. But what about manufacturing SEZ? Does it not make more sense to set it up nearby the port itself? Okay. Okay. What is the concept of blue beaches? My dear, you're talking about ecology and environment in economics classroom. Right? You're talking about ecology and environment in economics classroom. Blue beaches is a different concept. Yellow sea, sir, some here yellow sea. Arey Baba. Yellow sea, right? Yellow, color yellow, not yellow sea. Arey Baba. Right? I'm not talking about LOC, alphabet LOC, line of control. No, I'm talking about yellow, color yellow sea. I'm actually surprised. Right? People are unaware about LOC. Right, my dear, please look at that's a reason. I don't know whether you're doing this or not. Whenever you prepare for UPSC, you should do this one exercise. Just a detour, just 30 seconds. Purchase political maps. Purchase, these geography maps. Paste them. Keep on observing because map-based questions are very famous in UPSC. I'm talking about this LOC, color yellow. I'm talking about that LOC, not LOC. No, I'm not talking about a line of control. I'm not talking about border. I'm talking about a sea here. Okay. Okay. Anyways, national waterways. Okay. Next, inland waterways. Because we have come across the term waterways very often now. What is this concept of waterways? Simple. We are going to use the flow of the river water. We are going to use the flow of the lakes, right? Or let's say canal water for the movement of goods or passengers. That's it. For the movement of goods, that is a freight or passenger, we are going to use the flow of waterways, and these are called as inland waterways. These are referred to as inland waterways. Now, point number one. Second, India has an extensive network of inland waterways. Right now, the total length of navigable water, navigable means which can be utilized for movement. Okay, so total length of navigable waters is around 20,200 kilometers. This basically is the sum total of how much length of waters is available for navigation purposes in the rivers as well as canal waters. Right, it is 20,200 kilometers. In case of China, it is more than 1 lakh kilometer. It is more than 1 lakh kilometer. In case of India, it is 20,200 kilometers. Now, earlier, please understand, earlier, Government of India had declared 5 national inland waterways. I repeat, government earlier had declared 5 inland national waterways. National waterways simply means whenever any waterway, for example, sir, what is the meaning of national inland waterway? Think of it. Can I say a river water will flow in multiple states? All of you okay with this? The river water will flow in multiple states. For example, sir, what is this concept? I don't know whether the river will flow in multiple states or not. If you are reading newspapers, is there again the discussion on Kaveri water distribution? Let me know. Interstate river water disputes. Is it there again in the newspaper? It was there yesterday. Please read that. Karnataka government has approached Supreme Court. Again, Supreme Court is open to looking into the Kaveri water river distribution. So I hope you understand. River will flow in multiple states. Now, who should maintain these river waters? Maintain in the sense, we are going to use these river waters for the movement of goods. So now who is the authority which will basically ensure that these waterways will be used? Who will maintain all of these waterways whenever it is declared as a national waterway? Remember this. Whenever it is declared as a national waterway, the river waters for maintenance, for movement of goods, etc., will come under the control of the central government. Very simple. I'll repeat it again. Whenever river waters, right, inland waterways are declared as national waterways, it simply means central government will have authority over maintenance, usage of these river waters for transportation, for cleaning, etc., etc. That is the argument. So earlier, only 5 waterways in India were declared as national waterways. Government of India in 2016, I repeat, Government of India in 2016, right, passed a bill, National Waterways Act of 2016. And under National Waterways Act of 2016, Government of India has declared now 100 waterways as a national waterways. I'll repeat the statement. As per National Waterways Act of 2016, right, earlier 5 waterways, including that, now Government of India has declared 111 waterways as national waterways, which means Government of India will have the right over usage of this water for transportation purposes. So inland waterways, right, today in case of India are being developed. Again, I'm talking about national waterways are being developed, right, are being promoted by one authority which has been set up by the government, Inland Waterways Authority of India. Inland Waterways Authority of India, IWAI. Inland Waterways Authority of India. So IWAI, it is this authority which has been set up to maintain, operate these national waterways in India. So inland waterways has a huge potential for both goods transportation, that is cargo, as well as the passenger transportation. Inland waterways are much better compared to the road mode of a transportation or railways mode of a transportation. Right, so these are certain very important points regarding the concept of national waterways. Now, let me do a critical evaluation here. What are the benefits? What are the advantages of using waterways? Point number 1, these will cause a lesser emission compared to railways and roadways. That should be very clear to you. There is no doubt regarding it. These will cause lesser emission compared to roadways and railways. Second, the cost of transportation through waterways is much lower compared to roadways and railways. Now, because we will start using the waterways now, right? Because we'll start using and promoting more and more usage of waterways, right? Don't you think along the waterways now warehousing infrastructure will be created? Yes or no? You want to promote waterways, warehousing infrastructure will be created. Companies which will operate vessels would be established. More and more vessels would be purchased. So more demand for labor will be there. That is, more job opportunities will be created here. Next important advantage, waterways are declared as national waterways. Do you have any requirement of land acquisition here? Unlike, let's say, development of airport, development of a national highway, do you have any requirement of land acquisition? No, Government of India will simply declare this as a waterway. Water is already flowing. So government will declare this as a waterway. It will come under the control of the central government. So no need of a land acquisition. So land acquisition problems in waterways would be addressed. Right? Reduce the cost of transportation. Land acquisition problem will not be there. Will benefit not only for the freight transportation, but also passenger transportation will be benefited. Tourism projects can be promoted, etc. The best example that I can think from the current affairs is MV Ganga Vilas. Please read about this. MV Ganga Vilas. Right? MV Ganga Vilas. And in fact, very recently, this was there in the current affairs. Right? This Friday, I'll give you this article. This was there, by the way, in the current affairs. You can check it. Very recently, one of the waterways is being used to connect India-Bangladesh trade. I'll repeat the statement. Very recently, there is one waterway that has been used by the government to connect India-Bangladesh trade. So, in order to promote a trade, you can use waterways. In order to promote coastal tourism projects, you can use waterways, etc. So, these are some of the advantages of waterway usage. Having said so, are there any concerns? Are there any problems related to using waterways? Of course, yes. First one, right? These waterways require constant dredging on account of silting. Now, what is this dredging and silting? Simple question to all of you. Is geography over for you people? Let me know. If it is not over, don't worry. If it is not over, please do not panic. It will be there. You have annual calendar. Please have a look at it. Right? And if it is over, it is very easy. If it is not over, listen now. Whenever river water will flow, can I say it will carry certain material along with it? Yes or no? Anybody has a problem with this? The river water will flow, it will carry certain material along with it, right? Sediments, finer clay parts or pebbles, etc. Now let's say this is the course of the river. This is how river is flowing. The river will carry lot of these material, right? Whether it is a clay, sand, right, a stone, don't worry about it. Understand the logic. It will carry the material and let's say it will continuously keep on depositing the material here. Please tell me what has happened to the width of the channel. Let me know what has happened to the width of the channel. Channel means what is the river flow here. The width of the channel will come down. And if these right soil particles, right, on account of erosion somewhere, it will erode somewhere, it will get carried along with the river water. Imagine the deposition will be done here. Let's say the deposition will be done here. Now please tell me what will happen to the depth of the channel. Can I say the depth of the channel will also come down? Now, don't you think because of this, right, the waterways cannot be used for the mode of transportation. Many of the vessels might get stuck up in the river water itself. So what we do is, in order to address this, it is called a silting process. This is called as a silting process. Silting means, right, the erosion will happen somewhere. River water will carry the particles, deposit it somewhere. This is called a silting process. And in order to address this particular silting problem, we will basically use machineries to remove the silt. And this is called as a dredging. Is it okay? This process is called as a dredging. You'll keep on right continuously dredging the riverbed so that the depth will be maintained. Now tell me, if you're going to go for dredging activity, will it mean more expenditure for you? Let me know, right? Will it not mean more expenditure for you? So to have operational waterways, you'll have to conduct continuously dredging activity. Dredging process has to be conducted. And when you conduct dredging process, more expenses. That is one concern. Second concern is, all the rivers in India do not have a high flow throughout the year. What is this? For those for whom geography is over, it's a very simple question. For others, don't worry. The fact is very simple. All the rivers are not perennial in India. All the rivers are not perennial. Perennial means what? The river will have water throughout the year. Right? Perennial means a river will have water throughout the year. Right? Generally, we divide the rivers in India into Himalayan rivers and non-Himalayan rivers. That is southern Indian rivers. So in case of southern Indian rivers, we generally say these are not perennial in nature. Whereas Himalayan rivers, they will have water throughout the year, perennial in nature. So can you, right, imagine a situation where you're using a waterway where water is not available throughout the year? So think of it. What will be the flow of channel, right? How much water will be available to you? Can this reduce the depth of the channel? Can certain vessels get stuck up because of that? That is also a concern. All the rivers will not have water throughout the year. That becomes a concern now. The investment requirement is also huge. You want to maintain, you want to construct warehouses, you want to purchase vessels. All of that requires a lot of investment. And finally, if you start using all these rivers, what will happen to river ecosystem? Right? What will happen to the ecosystem? Right? Can there be loss of ecology because of the infrastructure usage here? So these are some of the concerns. These are some of the concerns related to inland waterways usage. Done? So this is a discussion regarding the concept of port infrastructure plus waterways infrastructure in India. The last type of infrastructure that we are discussing will be airports. The last type, again, not specifically airport, but we'll focus more on civil aviation. Right? Don't focus on the airport per se, focus on civil aviation. Why? Civil aviation is more important than how many airports are there, right? Which is the largest airport, which is airport present in which state, etc. That is not relevant. Let me focus on the concept of civil aviation or airports. Point number one, in case of India, historically, it was the government of India which used to construct the airports and maintain airports through Airport Authority of India. There is an authority by the name of Airport Authority of India, AAI, basically the regulator now. It was the government which used to construct the airports and maintain and operate the airports. But over a period of time now, right, government is promoting airport development by the private sector. Right, government is also promoting PPP, public private partnership, in maintenance and the development of airports, etc. But having said so, please understand there are a lot of concerns regarding civil aviation market in India. Lot of concerns regarding civil aviation market in India. What are the concerns? Point number one, large number of airports in India are not operational. I'll repeat my statement, and this is correct, by the way. Large number of airports have been constructed. These are not operational in India. Now, many of you will ask me, sir, why? Why is that large number of airports are not operational in India? For example, there are many smaller cities throughout India. Right? All of you know this. I'm pretty sure nearby you, there will be a city or you are a part of a city where airport is already there, but right, they are not offering any kind of services. So understand the logic here. Large number of airports which have been constructed in smaller cities. For example, right, whenever you talk about cities in India, please understand this. Whenever you talk about cities in India, as per the census, the cities are divided into tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, etc. like this. For example, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6. Right? I repeat, generally the cities in India, for population focus, we divide them into 6 tiers. For example, the lowest will be 6th tier, where population is up to, right, let's say 5,000, then population up to 10,000, population up to 20,000, population up to 50,000, population of up to 1 lakh, population of up to 10 lakh. Generally, please remember, again, don't by heart the number of the people, not required. For measurement, right, in terms of unit of measurement, we divide the cities based on the populations, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 up to tier 6. Now, many of the tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities, that is the cities where population is more than 50,000, lot of airports have been there, right? We have developed airports, constructed airports. But the problem is that the people do not prefer to travel through air. They prefer to travel through road. They prefer to travel through railways. They will use roadways as well as railways rather than using the airways, that is a civil aviation market. Reason is very simple. The prices of the tickets are very high in India. The prices are not affordable for the large population in India. This is the precise reason. This is a precise reason why large population is out of the ambit of coverage of civil aviation market. Hardly around 2 to 3% of population in India, I repeat, hardly around 2 to 3% of the population in India can afford, right, through civil aviation market to travel, because the ticket prices are very high in India, very costly in India. That's the reason government of India now is trying to promote access to civil aviation market through a scheme by the name of Udan scheme. I'll come to Udan after some time. So point number one, airports, a lot of airports have been developed, but because the population cannot afford the ticket prices, these airports are not operational, either not at all operational, or these are used very less, right? The infrastructure is there, but because the population is very less, hardly one aeroplane will use the services, or one company will use this airport once in a while. So underutilization as well as a non-utilization is a concern for airports in India. Second, one of the reasons, understand this very carefully, one of the reasons why the ticket prices are very high is the fact that in case of India, even in larger cities, most of the cities in India where airports are present, only one airport is present. I'll repeat the statement, understand this very carefully. In lot of these cities, larger cities by the way, if you see how many airports are present, only one airport is present. Now please think of it. Irrespective of whether this airport is maintained by the government or by the private sector, if only one airport is there, can I say this is monopoly in the civil aviation market? Please let me know. Can I say this is monopoly in the civil aviation market? Monopoly means a single service provider. Sir, why this is a problem? If there is only one service provider, is there any competition for it? Please think. Is there any competition? Absolutely no competition. So whatever is the ticket price, and by the way, ticket price includes even infrastructure services. Very important. When you purchase a ticket, for example, imagine, just an example, you want to fly from Delhi to, let's say, Hyderabad, just an example. Okay, sir, why Hyderabad? I want to travel from Delhi to Jaipur. My dear, take expressway in that case. Sir, I want to fly from Delhi to, let's say, Kolkata, right? Yes, that's civil aviation market. I want to fly from Delhi to Chennai, right? Aeroplanes are there. Delhi to Bangalore, aeroplanes are there. So I hope you understand. Imagine you want to purchase a ticket, and let's say hypothetically, the ticket price is, let's say, 6,000 rupees. The ticket price, let's say, hypothetically 6,000 rupees. Right now, out of 6,000 rupees, if you see a breakup, there will be a fees called as airport development fees. You can check it by the way. There will be a fees, right, called as airport development fees. Now, what is this airport development fees? Whatever the name they might use, when you go to, right, an airport, you are using the services of airport. All of you will agree with me? When you go to an airport, you are using the services of an airport. Sir, what kind of services? You are using, right, let's say, newspapers which are there in the airport. You are sitting in the airport. The AC is continuously running, right? The airports will have to have very nice road infrastructure, etc. So in essence, you are using the services of an airport. So for all of it, they will impose the charges on you. For all of this, they will impose the charges on you. Whether you like it, you don't like it, you might simply say, sir, I don't want to sit. Then I don't want to pay the charges. Airport says no option for you. You will have to pay the charges. Now, please tell me, if there are two airports, or let's say three airports, not of the same size, but at least one large airport, one small airport, don't you think based on the services provided, ticket prices might vary within the same city? Think of it. Based on the services provided, the ticket prices might vary in the same city. In fact, if you look at airports in London, if you look at airports in New York, you will see that these cities, very large cities by the way, these cities have multiple airports. But in case of India, right, a large number of cities have only one airport, and these airports will act like a monopoly. In fact, I will add it to current affairs. Very recently, a standing committee has used a term, again, very old term, but it has come into current affairs now, concept of gold plating in airports. I believe earlier also I've used this particular term in the classroom. Let me know. Right? It's a very old term, but suddenly now this has become famous because the standing committee has asked civil aviation companies to look into the gold plating of airports. Right? What do you mean by gold plating? Standing committee says we should not go for gold plating of airports. What do you mean by gold plating of airports? Do not develop unnecessary more infrastructure in the airports. Simple argument. Do not unnecessarily develop more infrastructure in the airports. Why? If you develop more and more infrastructure, that is, imagine, you will develop infrastructure which is very costly in nature. You'll spend lot of money. I hope you understand. You'll spend lot of money, unnecessary, very costly infrastructure. Right? If you develop that kind of infrastructure, will you not transfer the cost to the consumers? Think of it. Will you not simply transfer the cost to the customers? And when you transfer it, already our concern is that the ticket prices are very high. Lot of population cannot purchase these tickets. We want more people to use the civil aviation market. By gold plating airport, you will further increase the ticket prices. And when you further increase the ticket prices, what will happen to the accessibility? Again, accessibility will go down. That is the reason, the standing committee says do not go for gold plating of airports. This will unnecessarily increase the ticket prices. So first problem is okay with all of you. Second problem, air travel is very, very costlier. Second problem is air travel is very costlier. Third problem, sir, why ticket prices are very higher in case of India? My dear, you are importing crude. Correct? You are importing crude. One of the components of crude is what? Aviation turbine fuel, ATF. You are importing crude oil. One of the components of crude oil is aviation turbine fuel. If the prices of crude oil in the international market keep on varying, what will happen to ATF prices? Let me know. What do you think will happen to ATF prices? ATF prices will also start increasing. And upon this, ATF, there is no GST on it, which means, the ATF will attract a central government tax as well as a state government tax. I'll repeat, which means ATF will attract a central government tax as well as state government taxes, which will further increase the market price of ATF, which will add to higher ticket prices. So ATF prices are very high in India, and half of the ticket prices are because of ATF. Hence, the ticket prices are also very high. And look at the term here. ATF was deregulated in 2002. What do you mean by deregulated? Government is not determining the market price of ATF. It is the market supply and demand that will determine the price of ATF. Okay? So aviation turbine fuel, that's also a problem. Connectivity issues in lower tier of cities. In smaller cities, lower tier means smaller cities, very, very few of these cities have airport. And even if they have airport, these airports are far away for passengers in other cities. For example, think of it. I'm a customer. I have sufficient money. I can purchase a ticket. But the airport is 200 kilometers away from my city. Don't you think that will hinder? That will basically prohibit me using civil aviation market. So connectivity issues in lower tier cities will also hinder the growth in the civil aviation market. Okay? Apart from this, maintenance, repairs and overhaul, MRO. Maintenance, repairs and overhaul, MRO. Now, what is this maintenance, repairs, and overhaul? Please understand this. We need to keep a check on whether the aeroplane is in a right situation, let's say a right frame in order to take flight. That is, whether the tires are working correctly or not, whether the wings are working correctly or not, is there any faulty equipment, has anything happened to any of the turbines, etc., etc. So we need to maintain, we need to keep repairing these aeroplanes. Right now, please understand, right now, lot of these companies, right, whenever they take international flight, imagine they will go to Abu Dhabi, they will go to Singapore, right, they will go to any other larger destinations like this, they will get the maintenance or the repairs of the aeroplanes done from these external markets. I'll repeat the statement. What is MRO? MRO basically means the maintenance activities that are conducted on these aeroplanes. Right now, lot of these maintenance activities, the companies get it done outside India. Government of India says we will try to address it. How? We'll promote MRO market within India itself. We will basically keep on promoting MRO market, participation of MRO players within India. We will develop India as a hub for MRO. So that rather than getting the maintenance done outside India, you'll get the maintenance repairs done within India. It will create jobs. It will reduce the outflow of dollars from India. It will attract foreign companies to get the MRO done within India, which means more revenue generation within India. So these are some of the issues related to the concept of civil aviation market. Now, what are the reforms? What kind of reforms have been implemented? First one, we have allowed FDI in the civil aviation market. We have allowed FDI, 100% FDI under automatic route for greenfield project, up to 74 FDI under automatic route for brownfield project. Please do let me know. Right, all of you remember what is up to 74, up to 100%. All of you remember what is automatic route, what is government route. Right, all of you remember what is brownfield and greenfield. Done. Right, so that this is the first reform. Second one, we are also promoting PPP in airports now. Public-private partnership, we are promoting even in the airports. That is, for example, you must have read in the newspaper, lot of these airports which have been kept under PPP are being operated by Adani group of companies now. Right, Adani Industries is operating large number of airports in India under PPP. Right, which means again we are using one mode where private sector will invest money, operate airport, but will give government of India certain part of the revenues. Third one is Udan scheme. Third one is Udan initiative. What is this Udan initiative? Udan basically stands for Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagarik. Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagarik. And there is a name in English as well. That is Regional Connectivity Scheme, RCS. Regional Connectivity Scheme, RCS. So Government of India back in 2016, introduced a new policy for civil aviation, right? Civil aviation policy of 2016. And in this civil aviation policy of 2016, government wanted to promote more accessibility, usage of airports, etc., in order to promote civil aviation market. And for this only, government introduced the concept of Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagarik. Now, under Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagarik, the target is basically to cover tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities. Right? Smaller cities which have airport, we want to cover these cities. And under this, please understand, what is Government of India doing? Under this, government will provide viability gap funding. All of you remember VGF? Please do let me know. All of you remember the concept of VGF or not? Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, you have not covered VGF? If you say that, I will ask you to open the PPT on PPP. Right, yesterday only we have covered viability gap funding. What is viability gap funding? Any project where right? The project makes perfect economic sense, but there's a concern over financial viability of the project. Now look at this. Look at this. Please tell me, as the government having more and more airports operating, does it make economic sense to the government? Think of it. Is it economically justified? Of course, yes. But if a private sector company, some of you are saying no, my dear, why are you saying no? It is economically justified. Those who are saying no, tell me why it is not economically justified. Economically, that's very important. Why is it not economically justified? It is economically justified. But having said so, will the private sector be worried about financial viability of the project? Financial viability means government says, right, you can take the route like this. For example, you can connect Nasik with, let's say, another city. Nasik is one of the cities in Maharashtra. There is one more city in Karnataka, Hubli. Hubli can be connected with other cities through civil aviation market. But my concern as a private sector operator is, will I be able to generate sufficient revenue? Because expenditure will be there, but will I be able to generate sufficient revenue? Financial viability. Financial viability of the project is a concern for me. That is the reason government will provide viability gap funding under UDAN initiative. But there is a condition. There's a condition. What is the condition? Government says, if aeroplanes are there, if you're going to use aeroplane services, half of the tickets that you sell, right now you will have to sell it at 2,500 rupees if there is 1 hour of a flight. Half of the tickets that you sell, you will have to sell it at subsidized prices, that is 2,500 rupees per hour of a flight. So I will give you funding, but there's a condition. What is the condition? Right, the ticket prices, at least half of them, you'll have to sell it at this. And even in case of helicopters, right, the UDAN scheme covers helicopters as well. Even in case of helicopters, if it is 1 hour of a flight, then the ticket prices should be 5,000 rupees. So have a look at this. The government says half of the ticket prices, you will have to sell it at least, you'll have to sell it at 2,500 rupees if there is 1 hour of flight. If it is a helicopter, right, it has to be 5,000 rupees for 1 hour of a flight. Right, so this is basically under the UDAN initiative. The target under UDAN initiative is to achieve connectivity for at least 100 airports by 2024, which Government of India is on the path to achieve. Because we have not yet reached 2024, we are covering more and more airports. But please understand, very recently there were multiple articles regarding UDAN initiative. What were the articles? No doubt, under UDAN initiative, government has been successful in bringing private sector companies to provide services to the people at subsidized rates, at lower rates. They have been very successful. But because of pandemic, the demand for civil aviation market took a hit. Even after pandemic, people are not preferring, especially in smaller cities. I repeat, especially in smaller cities where these UDAN routes were created, especially in smaller cities, people are not getting back to civil aviation market. Right? They are simply saying we do not want to use it. And those who are using civil aviation market, that's a very, very small proportion. Many companies are not able to provide these services to them. Because please understand, in an aeroplane, let's say there are 60 seats, and out of 60 seats, if only 10 passengers are there, don't you think the cost of operations would be much, much higher? I hope you understand. It makes perfect sense. If 60 seats are there, only 10 passengers are there, cost of operations for this company would be very, very high. Many of the companies are incurring losses. Hence, they have stopped providing these services. Right? More than 400 routes have been launched. Many of the routes have been discontinued. Pandemic has affected the demand for these kind of services, and cost of operations in these routes has actually increased over a period of time. And that is a precise reason. That many of the routes have been discontinued now. Right? Many private sector companies, regional operators. Regional means very, very small number of routes they will be flying. Many of these regional operators have incurred losses. They have been forced to shut down. They have discontinued the services. Done? Okay, so this is right related to Udan initiative. This is basically related to Udan initiative. Right, so these are the various infrastructure points I wanted to cover with you. Let's solve questions, then we can take a break. Let's solve questions, right? Questions from industries is left out. Questions on investment models is left out. Let's solve them, then we can take a break. Start now. Okay, 60% have answered correctly. Consider the following statements about Mudra. It has been set up as a wholly owned subsidiary of NABARD. No, it has been set up as a wholly owned subsidiary of SIDBI. I think I've written it. I've told it also. Right. The first one is wrong. Its objective is to provide credit access to micro and small enterprises. Yes, second point is correct. So right option will be option B. Only 2 is true. Only 2 is correct. Okay, 53% have answered correctly. Index of 8 core industries. Which one of following is given the highest weightage? Right? Which one has been given the highest weightage? My dear, electricity. Please check the table. Please check the table. It is electricity, right? Electricity, 19%. Right? Please check the table. I've given you a table. All the 8 core industries, the list is given. Right? Highest weightage is given to electricity generation out of all the 4 given here. Now, descriptive question. Normally, countries shift from agriculture to industry and then later to services. But India shifted directly from agriculture to services. What are the reasons for the huge growth in services vis-a-vis industry in the country? Can India become a developed country without a strong industrial base? Now, question number 1. Did we discuss this evolution from agriculture directly to services sector? I'm sure I've discussed. I'll tell you the context as well. I'd have written primary sector, secondary, and tertiary. Then I've told you, right, because of these reforms, higher per capita income, cheaper labor availability in India, LPG reforms, etc. As a result of all of these factors, rather than jumping from primary to secondary, we directly have jumped from primary to tertiary. Please tell me, is it not answer to the first question? First part of the question, not first question, first part of the question. Right? What are the reasons for the huge growth in services sector vis-a-vis, right, the industries in Indian market? Right? You already know the answer. LPG reforms, right? The cheaper labor availability, cost-effective labor availability in case of India, right? Higher per capita incomes or higher growth in the incomes, growth in international trade, growth in industries in India, right? So these are the reasons why service sector has grown much faster in India, especially post 1991. Now come to the second part. Second part to the question: can India become a developed country without a strong industrial base? Let me know. Right. So this is the model. This is the introduction. Right. As far as I'm concerned, keep the introduction very short. Keep it short and crisp. What are the reasons why there has been a growth in case of service sector in India? We have discussed all of them individually. You can write them. Now, Can India become a developed country without having a strong industrial base? Answer is no. We need a very very strong industrial base. What is the reason? These are the reasons. One, there is a huge dependency on manufactured goods in India. Huge dependency. If you do not have a strong industrial base in India, we will end up importing these manufactured goods into India. Rather than importing, manufacturing in India is better. Disguised unemployment in agriculture sector is very high. So when you promote industrial sector, when you promote manufacturing sector, don't you think some of the employment will get shifted from agriculture sector to manufacturing sector? Please think of it. Please think of it. If you promote manufacturing and manufacturing sector becomes a developed sector in India, don't you think some of the labor which is there in agriculture sector, especially disguised unemployment, will move into manufacturing sector? All of you okay with this? Right? So disguised unemployment from agriculture will move into industries. There is a huge labor force available in India. The people who are searching for jobs are very, very high, and manufacturing sector can promote growth of jobs in India. They can create more and more jobs in India. Strong industrial base is required for growth in both agriculture sector as well as services sector. For example, you need aeroplanes, you need laptops, you need personal computers, you need a tractor. Where is it manufactured? Where is it actually produced? In the industrial sector. So to achieve a better growth in agriculture as well as service sector, you need to have a very very strong industrial base. And what is government of India doing in order to promote industries in India? Make in India, PLI, right? Reduction in the corporate tax rate, etc. etc. We have discussed a lot of these reforms which are being used by the government to promote industrialization. Right? So these are certain very important points. Please go through that. And again, please understand this. Do not expect a book to give answer to these kind of questions. I'll repeat it again. Do not expect that the book will have answer to these kind of questions. You will have to read current affairs. You will have to be updated with the current affairs. Only then you can write a very effective answer whenever these kind of questions are asked in UPSC. Okay, done. Now questions on investment models. Let's start. Questions on investment models. Okay, 44% have answered correctly. Which of the following would include foreign direct investment in India? Subsidiaries of companies in India? Let me know. Subsidiaries. Right? Let's say a foreign company will open a company in India, 100% owned company. Yes. Majority foreign equity holding in Indian companies. A foreign company will enter into a joint venture with Indian company where 51% will be owned by a foreign company, where 76% will be owned by a foreign company. Yes. Company is exclusively financed by foreign companies. They will open an office in India, and whatever expenditure is there, it will be provided by foreign company itself. Can it be counted as part of FDI? Yes, that is also part of FDI. What about portfolio investment? What about portfolio investment? Portfolio investment, right, basically is not FDI, it is FPI. Right, so 1, 2, 3 are correct. Right option for this question will be option D here. Option D is the right option. Next, Okay, so 56% have answered correctly. Both foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investor are related to investment in a country. Which one of the following statements best represents an important difference between the two? FII helps bring better management skills and technology, while FDI only brings in capital. Exactly opposite. All of you okay with this? Exactly opposite. FII helps in increasing capital availability in general, while FDI only targets specific sectors. It is correct. FDI, right? Government will decide which sector we are going to attract FDI. FDI flows only in secondary market, while FI targets primary market. Do you think it is correct? Think of it. FII targets primary market. Correct? No, FI can target primary market as well as secondary market. So, for example, can FII make an investment in the stock market in India? Of course, yes. Right? They can target secondary market. Right? So C is wrong. FI is considered to be more stable than FDI. Exactly opposite. Correct. FDI is more stable compared to FII. For example, yesterday, if you remember, I said FII is referred to as a hot money. Yes or no? Let me know now. Right? Did we discuss? And some of the students are asking, what is FDI and what is FII? Great. My dear, great. Right? Yesterday, hardly 24 hours are not over. Hardly 24 hours. Right? So FII is considered to be hot money. Why? They will keep on moving from one country to another country. They'll keep on jumping from one country to another country. So FII is unstable. FD is more stable. So D is wrong. Right option is option B here. Okay. And there is one question regarding, right, the first question here, which of the following would include FDI investment in India? Some of the students said, sir, but sir, portfolio investment can be considered as FDI. My dear, please understand, portfolio investments with conditions. I repeat, portfolio investments with conditions can be considered as FDI. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Portfolio investment with condition. What is a condition? It should be more than 10%. It should be at least 10% condition. Right? Is the logic okay with all of you? In fact, there is one more condition. Right? As per Arvind Mayram committee, there is one more condition. What is one more condition? Imagine a foreign investor will invest 9% and purchase equity in an Indian company from the stock market. I repeat, a foreign investor will invest in India's equity market and purchase 9% of a company. Please tell me, as per Arvind Mayram committee, will it be considered as a FDI or FPI? Think of it, as per Arvind Mayram committee, will it be considered as a FDI or FPI? It should be considered as FPI. Some of you are saying FDI. By heart. It should be considered as FPI. But there is one relaxation. What is the relaxation? Have a look at this. If the foreign investor guarantees, I repeat, if the foreign investor guarantees to the government that in the next 1 year, this will be increased to at least 10%. I will repeat the statement. Please listen to me very carefully. If the foreign investor guarantees to the government that in the next 1 year, this equity that they have purchased from the equity market, that is from the stock market, if they guarantee that in the next 1 year, it will be at least 10%. At least means 10 or more than 10%. Then government says, I will not classify this as FPI. I will classify this as FDI. All of you okay with this? Let me know. All of you okay with this? Right? I'll repeat it again. Imagine a foreign investor will come to India, purchase 9%, 7%, 8% from the equity market. And when I say equity market, of course, I'm talking about stock market. Government says, I should classify you as FPI, but I will not do that, provided you guarantee to me that in the next 1 year, in the next 12 months, you will increase this to at least 10%. In such cases, I will still classify you as FDI. Right? So these are the conditions. Please remember this. Please remember. In fact, question was asked by UPSC regarding this only. Let's go to the next one. Okay, 50% have answered correctly. Slightly tricky question. Let me explain it. Let's start. Consider the following. Which of the above can be included as FDI? Anybody has a problem with the GDR? Let me know. Anybody has a problem with GDR? Is GDR part of FDI? Yes, it is part of FDI. In foreign currency convertible bonds. Now, right, some of you will say, sir, you did not discuss foreign currency convertible bonds in FDI. My dear, please tell me, what do you mean by convertible bonds? Let me know. What do you mean by convertible bonds? Did we cover convertible bonds earlier in the financial market? Answer is yes, by the way. Convertible bonds means these are issued as convertible bonds, but after a certain time period, these can be converted into shares. Correct? Bonds can be converted into shares. And now, this is a foreign currency convertible bond. This is nothing but foreign currency convertible bond. Means what? Indian company will go to USA. Imagine, Indian company will go to USA, issue a bond. And the company says after 2 years, this bond will become share. Is the logic okay? This bond will become share. This is counted as a part of FDI. Simple. This will be counted as a part of FDI, foreign direct investment. Because the bonds can be converted into shares. Shares is nothing but equity, right? Ownership in a company. So this is counted as a FDI. So first one is FDI, foreign institutional investment with certain conditions. Now tell me, foreign institutional investment with certain conditions. Can we count it as FDI? Yes. Yes, with conditions, you can count it as FDI. Global deposit receipts, it is FDI. Non-resident external deposits. Right? Look at the term there. Non-resident external deposit. Meaning what? Imagine you go to USA, and when you go to USA, from USA, you will keep certain deposits in Indian bank. I repeat, you will keep certain deposits in Indian bank. Can I call these deposits as non-resident external deposits? Very, very famous, by the way. NRE, non-resident external deposits. Can I call these are basically bank deposits? The bank deposits will give you ownership in any company. Think of it. Bank deposits, will they give you any ownership? Is it FDI? No, it is simply a deposit. It is not FDI. It is investment, but not FDI. So fourth one is wrong. Done? Right. So first is correct, second is correct, third is correct. Right option for the question will be option A, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Done? Right. So these are the MCQs. But for less than 10% in listed company isn't counted as FDI? Yes, it is counted as, it is not counted as FDI. But please understand, if foreign institutional investment makes an investment in India with conditions, right, more than 10% after 1 year, etc., can it be counted as FDI? 2 minutes ago, I explained this to you. 2 minutes ago, I explained this to you. If a foreign investor makes an investment less than 7%, rather than counting this as FPI, we'll count it as FDI, provided there's a condition. Next 1 year, it has to be more than 10%. That is basically the second point. So 1, 2, 3 are correct. Right option will be option A here. Now, descriptive question is there. We'll take up descriptive question later. Don't worry. Okay, we'll take up descriptive questions later. Okay, so let's take up a break. Now, if there are any questions regarding what we have discussed so far, please do let me know. Otherwise, we'll take the break now. Back. Am I audible? Audible. Done. Let's start. So next chapter I'll be covering, next concept I'll be covering is the concept of planning. Right? Concept of planning, the most static part of Indian economy part for you, Indian economy chapter for you. Why? When I gave a break, I was just going through some of the comments given by the student. One student said, "Sir, chapters before planning were interesting, but after agriculture sector, right, most of it is factual in information, etc. Wait for planning, my dear. Look at planning, then you tell me whether this is more static or it is only static or not." So point number one, planning is a very exhaustive subject. Concept of planning is not a small one. It's a very exhaustive. Why? Right? I'll give you certain important points. So please have a look at it. So far in India, we started the concept of planning in 1951, and the last 5-year plan was implemented from 2012 to 2017. Was implemented from 2012 to 2017, which means there has been a long history for the concept of 5-year plans in India. Very long history for concept of 5-year plans in India. More than 60 to 70 years we have implemented 5-year plans. A simple question to all of you. Do you think you'll be able to remember? Do you think you'll be able to remember all the points for the last 70 years that has happened in 5-year plans? Think of it. Be logical always. Be always logical. For example, 12th 5-year plan. 12th 5-year plan, the document was more than 700 pages. The document was more than 700 pages. 12th 5-year plan. So imagine 12 5-year plans are there. So you can imagine the number of pages only for the documents. So don't become enthusiast here. Don't become over ambitious. Do not try to read everything about planning. Right? That is point number one. Point number two, then what you should remember? Concepts. So certain concepts are there in planning. I'll tell you the concepts. And second, all the 12 5-year plans you will not be able to remember. What I would do is, in the process of discussion here, each of the 5-year plan, I will give you 3 to 4 points. I will give you 3 to 4 points, more than sufficient. I'll give you 3 to 4 points for each of the 5-year plan, more than sufficient. Why? 12 5-year plans into 4 points. Here itself, you will have to remember 48 points. Here itself, you'll have to remember 48, and not in any sequence, my dear. Some of you will say 48, very easy to remember. And I know I've come across students who tell this. Sir, 48 points, very easy to remember. You will have to remember them in sequence. That is the difficulty. You will have to remember them in sequence. That is, you cannot simply take inclusive growth, put it in the first 5-year plan. Then you're wrong. You cannot take regional development as the agenda, put it in the second 5-year plan. Gone. You cannot take banking nationalization, put it in, right, a 12th 5-year plan. Wrong. You'll have to remember them in sequence. That is the difficulty level. That's the reason. Do not complicate it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay. Now, what will we discuss under planning? What do you mean by plan? Right. 5-year plans in India. Earlier Planning Commission, National Development Council. Right. The different 5-year plans. Right. What is the evaluation of all these 5-year plans? And finally, we will come to Niti Aayog. Because please understand, today, if you ask me, sir, today are we implementing 5-year plans? Answer is no. I repeat, today are we implementing still the 5-year plans? Absolutely no, we do not have 5-year plans. We have discontinued 5-year plans now. We have abolished a planning commission. We do not have planning commission, right? We have set up one more authority by the name of Niti Aayog from 2015. From 2015, Niti Aayog is the authority which looks after various strategies for Government of India. So there is no 5-year plan. In fact, 12th 5-year plan was not even implemented completely. I will repeat the statement. Remember this. Even the 12th 5-year plan was not implemented completely. Why? Planning Commission was abolished. 2015 Planning Commission was abolished. So the authority which is responsible for 5-year plan has been abolished. So how can you implement a 5-year plan? So remember these particular points. Now let me start. What do you mean by planning? What do you mean by economic planning? Under economic planning, please understand the central government or the authority responsible for it will make certain strategies, right? Will make certain plans considering resources which are available to them. Taking into consideration the resources, for example, money, for example, mineral resources, roads, etc. Whatever resources are available to them, taking that into consideration, they will make certain strategies and implement these strategies or policies. And the policy that was adopted in case of India was to have a plan for 5 years. Very simple. For every 5 years, we will have one plan. That is the reason this is very famously referred to as a 5-year plan. So have a look at this. Economic planning refers to the government or central authority will set up targets for the whole economy as well as various sectors and will try to achieve these targets using the resources which are available to us. And in case of India, please remember the Planning Commission. PC is Planning Commission. The Planning Commission was that authority which was responsible for preparation of the plan and implementation of the plan. And whenever you talk about the plans like this, whenever you talk about planning like this, there can be two types of planning. One is called as imperative planning. One is called as imperative. Imperative is also referred to as central command planning or central command economy. And second one is called as indicative planning. Second one is referred to as indicative planning. Now, what do you mean by imperative or central command economy? In case of imperative or central command, the plan is prepared by the central government. Plan is prepared by the central government and implemented by the central government. Central government will do all the things in the economy. Private sector is not allowed. Central government will do everything in the economy. That is called as a imperative planning or central command economy. Whereas in case of indicative planning, the planning is prepared by the center. Plan is prepared by the center. But in the implementation, you will see the government is also present as well as a private sector is also present. The government is also present as well as private sector is also present. These are the two different types of plans. Generally, in case of USSR, former Soviet Union, it was an imperative plan. It was a central command plan. Even in case of India, to a very great extent in the beginning, we followed central command, right? Type of imperative only. Type, not completely. Why? Most of the industries were under the control of the government. Most of the sectors were under the control of the government. Government was actually driving the growth in the economy. But from 8th 5-year plan, why 8th 5-year plan is important? Please have a look at it and tell me now. I'll come back to all of these slides. Don't say I'm skipping. Please look at the 8th 5-year plan. What is the duration for the 8th 5-year plan? Let me know. What is the duration? 1992. And don't you think the 1992 basically comes after 1991? What did we do in 1991? LPG reforms. And tell me, because of LPG reforms, think of it. Because of LPG reforms, what do you think would happen to private sector contribution to the economy? What do you think would happen to private sector investment in the economy? Right? Don't you think all of this will increase? So now think of it, can I say post, right, the 8th 5-year plan, we are seeing indicative planning in India. All of you okay with this? Especially post 8th 5-year plan or from the 8th 5-year plan, we are seeing indicative planning in India. That's a point. Please remember this. And think of this as well. What do you think? What do you think will be investment from the private sector in the initial years of the planning and from 1991 in the Indian economy? Think of it. How much do you think will be investment from the private sector in the first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, third 5-year plan, or eighth 5-year plan, ninth 5-year plan, 10th 5-year plan, can I say in the beginning, most of the investment in the economy came from the government? All of you okay with this? In the beginning, most of the investment, that is the first, second, third, fourth, etc., right? The government investment was maximum was done by the government. But post 1991 reforms, in fact, it started in the 7th 5-year plan itself, because certain reforms were implemented by the earlier government, right? Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, who was the prime minister, they implemented certain reforms. So from this, right, the LPG reforms, thanks to LPG reforms, don't you think private sector investment was very, very high, even compared to government? That's the reason. Please remember this, right? From 7th 5-year plan, you will see that private sector investment in the economy increased. In fact, in 8th 5-year plan, 9th 5-year plan, etc., more than 50% of the total investment in the economy was done by the private sector. Before that, it was much, much lesser. Most was invested by the government. Right? So these are some of the things. Please remember this. These are certain terminologies. You'll have to remember them. Now, right, this is introduction to planning. Now, what was the need for planning in India? Why did we adopt planning in the first place? What was the need? Let's start. India had fallen into low-level equilibrium trap. Now, please tell me, do you remember the concept of low-income trap earlier that we have discussed? Let me know. Do you remember the concept of low-income trap? In fact, I told you low-income trap, a low-level income equilibrium trap simply means your income is lesser, your savings are lesser, and when savings are lesser, investment will be lesser. And investment lesser means again income will be lesser. That basically is a cycle that will keep on happening again and again. It's a trap. You'll not be able to come out of it. Now tell me, at the time of independence, were we experiencing this kind of a trap or not? At the time of independence, because think of it. Some of you said, sir, that was only regarding farmers. My dear, at the time of independence, around 70% of the GDP came from agriculture sector. And more than 50% of the labor was involved in agriculture sector. So I hope you understand this, right? When you have most of the working population in agriculture sector and most of the GDP coming from agriculture sector, right? Please go back to your high school and tell me, do you think farmers were very rich at the time of independence? Let me know. Farmers were very rich. Farmers were thriving in India. Farmers had lot of investment in agriculture. Absolutely no. Lot of the production that they did was basically paid to government in the form of taxation. Lagan. Do you remember that? Lot of their production was given, right, to the government in the form of revenue. Right. So you will come across all of this in modern Indian history as well. Right, that settlement system, Raitwari settlement, this settlement, permanent settlement, etc. So argument is simple. Most of the population is involved in agriculture. Agriculture contributes most to the GDP, and most of the revenue earned is given to the government, which means savings are very less, right? Investment will be less, again income will be lesser, right? So that is the first problem, right? Second one, resources were very scarce. Now the concern was, if I allow, right, have a look at this, resources were very scarce. If I allow the private sector to utilize the resource, don't you think private sector will be focused more on profit rather than social welfare? Think of it, right? Private sector, if I allow the private sector to use civil aviation, right, steel resources, aluminum resources, right, let's say manufacturing, if I allow the private sector to do all of it, private sector will run behind profit. But so much population is in poverty. Population is not able to get access to food grain. And remember, right, look at the historical viewpoint as well. Right, all of you remember there's a partition that took place in India. Right, the whole of India was partitioned, broken down into two components. One is Pakistan and the second one is India. Now, why this is important economically? Don't make it political. Why is it relevant to us? lot of these agriculture region went into Pakistan region. Simple. Lot of the agriculture land which used to supply cotton to the rest of India, which used to supply rice to the rest of India, went into Pakistan. Now think of it. Population, lot of population is there in India. The population that was left out in India is very huge. But industrialization was affected because raw material supply went into part of Pakistan. Many of the agriculture commodities which were produced, irrigated, very well irrigated area, went into Pakistan. So don't you think that will put a lot of pressure on food security purpose? That will put a lot of pressure on supplying raw material to industries, etc. That is the reason Government of India said, let me go for economic planning. Let me go for economic planning. So to promote social justice, employment generation, right, reduction in poverty, to promote, right, basically efficient utilization of resources, right, etc. Government of India went for economic planning. All of you okay with this? All of you okay with this? So to protect national interest during the age of globalization, otherwise foreign companies will come into India, they will take away most of the resources. They will not lead to they will basically ensure domestic companies will not have any competition to them, etc. And central government said, I am better suited to promote cooperation between central government as well as state governments. So let me implement planning in India. So these are some of the very important reasons why India adopted economic planning. Now, what was the way, right? How did this evolve over a period of time in India? Planning Commission was established in 1951. I'll come to this. Planning Commission was established by the government in 1951. But even before that, even before Planning Commission was established, multiple plans have been proposed. But please remember, because we did not have independence, because our priority was something else, we had a British government at that point of time, none of these plans have been implemented. But for the first time in India, an economic plan was proposed by Dr. M. Vishweshwaraya. Back in 1934, Dr. M. Vishweshwaraya came out with a plan for 15 years. Came out with an economic plan for India for 15 years. The plan was proposed for 15 years. Right, so this was the first plan proposed in 1934, not implemented, but just factual information. What was the proposal under this? The proposal was we should have a planning commission. We should have a planning commission where 5 to 7 members will be there. They will create a plan for 15 years for the whole of India, and this plan will be implemented. Under this plan, we will increase production in the domestic market. We will increase investment. The investment was proposed to be increased from 300 crore to 1000 crore rupees. The production was targeted to be increased, right, from 400 crore rupees to 2000 crore rupees. So the targets were given under this 15-year plan. And if this plan was supposed to be implemented, just a second. Okay, not 15 years, 10 years. My mistake. Not 15 years, 10 years. My mistake. Okay, so the planned economy was recommended for 10 years, right? Why I said 15 years? There is one more plan. There is one more plan. That's the reason I checked. My mistake. So the first plan which was proposed by Dr. M. Vishweshwaraya is not for 15 years. It is for 10 years. It is for 10 years. Okay. So if the plan was supposed to be implemented, the national income was supposed to be doubled from around 2,900 crore rupees to somewhere around 5,000 crore rupees. So these were some of the very important proposals which were given, and the plan simply said private sector will not be able to meet all the demands of the economy. I repeat, please remember this. Private sector will not be able to meet all the demands of the economy. Hence, government should not give away all the work, all the production, supply of goods and services to private sector. Even the government should participate in the economy. The role of the government is not to just make policies, it is also to ensure it will play a very important role in production, supply of goods and services in the economy. So these were some of the very important points which was proposed by Dr. M. Vishweshwaraya, not implemented. Why? Look at the year, you'll automatically understand. After this, there was one more proposal. National Planning Committee was set up under the chairmanship of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru back in the year 1938. And in fact, when you read about modern Indian history, you'll come across INC. The president of INC was Mr. S.C. Bose at this point of time, 1938 and 1939. Under the presidentship of Subhash Chandra Bose, we set up a National Planning Committee, right? The INC set up a National Planning Committee. And the chairperson of the National Planning Committee was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, much of the work was not done. Although proposals have been provided, they were not implemented for a very simple reason. 1938, the committee was set up. 1939, Second World War broke out. And I hope you know this. During the Second World War, our focus was not to have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. Our focus was one, whether to participate in the Second World War, support British government. After that, 1942, we brought in Quit India movement, etc. So that is a precise reason the concept of planning took a backbench here, right? Was not very important for the government at that point of time, or even for the Congress at that point of time. But anyways, right, the National Planning Committee came out with a large number of recommendations, and one of the very important recommendation was that private sector should not be allowed to control the economy, should not be allowed to produce all these goods and services. Even the government should be involved, government should be owning some of these important industries. Right? That is the recommendation that was given by National Planning Committee. Of course, not implemented at that point of time because it was pre-independence. Another important plan, right? Bombay Plan, very famous. What was the importance of Bombay Plan? The Bombay Plan was proposed not by the government, not by the Congress, but by group of businessmen. Right? Group of businessmen came together. They formed a group and they proposed a plan which was famously referred as a Bombay Plan. Sir, why it is referred as a Bombay Plan, my dear? Because basically at that point of time, industrialization was concentrated in Bombay. Right now, under the Bombay Plan, what was proposed? What was proposed? Point number one, Bombay Plan was proposed for 15 years. Now I am correct. Okay, Bombay Plan was proposed for 15 years. Point number two, Bombay Plan recommended that there should be certain calorie consumption norms implemented across India. Calorie consumption. Minimum calorie consumption requirement should be the target. Apart from this, it also recommended that we should double lot of these infrastructure projects. We should double the strength of infrastructure projects in India so that the road network will improve, right? The shipping network will improve, etc. That will help us in producing more and more, right? It will help us in overall development of the economy, right? It will promote the overall development of the economy. And as a result of all of these reforms, right, as per this plan, we would end up doubling the per capita income. We would end up doubling the per capita income in 15 years from $22 to $45. So these are some of the proposals that were given under the Bombay Plan. Again, initially was not implemented, but over a period of time, some of the provisions have been taken in different 5-year plans. Okay. So these are some of the important proposals which were given earlier. But after independence, Government of India in earlier, what did I write? I said 1951, right? 1950. Earlier, right, Government of India set up in 1950 the Planning Commission. Right, I repeat, the Government of India set up Planning Commission in 1950. The first 5-year plan was implemented from 1951. Now, please understand this carefully. The Planning Commission, the composition is very simple. All the members in the Planning Commission were basically representatives of Government of India. Please have a look at the composition of Planning Commission here. All the members of Planning Commission, right? Some of you are asking, should we remember this? My recommendation, try to by heart it. right? Again, this is outdated. This is an outdated concept. We do not have planning commission, but you do not know what UPSC will do. It's a simple composition. It was set up in 1950. The planning commission was chaired. The chairperson of the planning commission was the prime minister. Whoever is the prime minister would automatically become the chairperson. Apart from the chairman, we also had a deputy chairman, finance minister, and many other ministers were appointed by the government along with experts into the planning commission. This was the composition of planning commission. Now, please make one observation. Is there any representation of the states in the planning commission? Please look at it and tell me now. Is there any representation of states in the planning commission? And in fact, it was the planning commission which prepared a 5-year plan. So you are in the process of preparing a 5-year plan and there is no representation of the states. This is one of the criticism. Regarding planning commission. Please remember this. Now, that is the reason in 1950 the planning commission was established. 1951 we had the first 5-year plan. Then in 1952, Government of India set up National Development Council. NDC, National Development Council. Now, please observe the composition of National Development Council. You will see there is a representation of the states as well as union territories. But what was the role of NDC? NDC was not involved in the preparation of the plan. The basic process was like this. Planning commission will prepare a 5-year plan, send it to NDC. If NDC wants a certain changes to be made, they will recommend it. Planning commission will make the changes, then send it to the cabinet committee. Once the cabinet committee will look into the plan, approve the plan, it will be sent to the parliament and the plan would be discussed in the parliament. This was basically the process that was followed for the preparation of the 5-year plan as well as the introduction of 5-year plan for the whole of Indian economy. But please remember this very carefully. Point number 1, there was no representation of the states in the planning commission. Point number 2, states were represented in NDC, but NDC had a role of looking into 5-year plan. It was not involved in preparing 5-year plan. Point number 3, both the Planning Commission as well as National Development Council were set up through executive resolution of Government of India. Through executive resolution. What do you mean by executive resolution? Please let me know. Is authority set up through executive resolution, is it a constitutional body? Think of it and please do let me know. Right, an authority which is set up through executive resolution. What do you mean by executive resolution? By passing an order. Government will pass an order and they will set up the authority. Is it an constitutional body? No. Is it a statutory body? Some of you are saying statutory body. Is it a statutory body? No. Statutory body. Arey Baba. Right, I believe polity is over for you now. I believe polity is already over. Statutory means there is a law. Government will pass a law and set up an authority. That is statutory body. All of you okay? For example, sir, any example statutory body? Please tell me. SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. Is it a statutory body? Yes, there is a law. SEBI Act is there. Right. So another example, Chief Information Commissioner, CIC. All of you know RTI. Chief Information Commissioner, RTI. There is a body for implementation of RTI. RTI Act is there. Or another example in current affairs, very often you will come across this. Competition Commission of India. Competition Commission of India. Right. There is an act, a Competition Commission Act of 2002. So that is a statutory body. So there is no statute. Statute means law. There is no statute for Planning Commission as well as National Development Council. Hence, simply remember through the order of the government. Through the order of the government, we set up these two authorities. Right, and think of this. Through order of the government, if we are setting up two authorities, can we easily abolish these two authorities through order of the government? Don't you think it is very easy to abolish then? That is the reason in 2015 Government of India said Planning Commission has no use now. It has outlived its requirement. So we abolished Planning Commission. No requirement of constitutional amendment. Okay, done. Okay, now let me go forward. So National Development Council was set up. Then, right, we have this representation of the states in the NDC, and basically they used to give recommendation to PC, and PC used to make changes, then get it passed through cabinet, then to parliament. Okay. Now, what were the objectives of Planning Commission? What were the objectives of Planning Commission? Now, 4 very important objectives. I've written 4 objectives, but you can derive many more objectives using the 4. Let's go point by point. One is growth, second one is equity, third one is modernization, fourth one is self-reliance. One is growth, second one is equity, third one is modernization, fourth one is self-reliance. Now, please remember this. You can talk about first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. In all the 5-year plans, we have a growth target. In all the 5-year plans, we have set up a growth target. But especially, please understand this, especially in the beginning part, especially in the first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, our main objective was to achieve growth only. Understand this very carefully. Right, especially in the first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, and third 5-year plan, our objective was to achieve growth. Our main agenda was to achieve growth. Why? Look at this. We believed in a concept called as a trickle-down theory. We believed in a concept called as trickle-down theory. What is this idea of a trickle-down theory? Let me explain it separately. Understand this very carefully. The trickle-down theory says that, it says that if you provide benefits to rich, that is government provides benefits to rich, then these benefits will flow down. These benefits will flow down to other parts of economy. How? I'll explain this. Have patience. Other parts of the economy. If you provide benefits to the rich, then other parts of the economy will also get these benefits. So how is that possible? Let me explain. Imagine, right, there are rich people, rich businessmen, very, very rich. They have a lot of money. If Government of India will reduce, I'll take just extreme example. If Government of India will reduce the income tax rate to 0%, right? Imagine government will reduce the income tax rate to 0% on these people. What do you think will happen now? Rich people will have more money. And if people have more money, don't you think they will invest in the economy? Yes or no? They will invest in the economy. And when they invest in the economy, right, what will happen to production? What will happen to employment in the economy? Please tell me. What will happen to the production? What will happen to the employment? Production will start increasing. Employment will start increasing. And when employment increases, the salaries earned by the houses will also increase. All of you okay with this? The salaries, wages earned by the houses will increase. And as a result of this, one, the demand for the goods and services will increase, and a lot of population will move out of poverty. All of you okay with this? Lot of population will start moving out of poverty. So now look at this. If you provide benefits to rich, if you provide benefits to people who have money, then it will lead to flowing down of the benefits to other part of the economy. This is called as a trickle-down theory. Now please tell me, Do you think this will work out always in the economy? Let me know. Do you think this will work out always in the economy? No, my dear, this will not work out. This will not work out. Some of you are saying yes, no, this will not work out. This will not work out. In fact, right, this was actually tried out by earlier UK government. Right, this was actually tried out by earlier UK government. Have you heard of Liz Elizabeth Truss? Right, the previous prime minister or the former prime minister of UK, England, by the way, right, the ex-prime minister of England, she actually tried out this idea itself, where they actually reduced the taxation on investors, where they actually reduced more taxes on rich people, assuming that they will invest more. But no, this is no guarantee that it will provide benefit to the economy. Why? Any guarantee rich will invest in the economy? Imagine recession is there. Imagine recession is there, or slowdown is there. Do you think companies will invest in the economy? No guarantee, my dear. They will not invest. They will have more savings. They will not invest. And what is a guarantee that they will invest and create jobs? Rather, creating jobs, they may remove more people. That can also happen. Right? So I hope you understand the argument. Argument was very simple. Government felt we should achieve more growth. We should achieve more growth, and in the process of achieving more growth, automatically poverty will come down. Automatically jobs would created. Automatically investment will start increasing. That was the reason. Initially, for first couple of 5-year plans, our majority focus was on achieving growth only. Because if we are achieving growth, it means higher demand is there, higher production is there, right? Poverty is reducing, etc., etc. That was the reason trickle down theory was the focus initially in the 5-year plan. But over a period of time, we have changed the strategy. We will understand it. Have some patience. 4th 5-year plan, you will see the change in strategy. 5th 5-year plan, you will see the change in strategy, etc., etc. Okay. Now, so first one was growth. Now, second one was equity. What do you mean by equity? Income inequalities are present, we will reduce them. Regional disparities are present, we will reduce them. In fact, in many 5-year plans, regional disparities were discussed. For example, remember 4th 5-year plan. Regional inequalities was being discussed. 6th 5-year plan, funds were allocated. 6th 5-year plan, funds were allocated to reduce regional disparities. So income inequality, we want to reduce it. Right? Regional disparities are there, we want to reduce it. So that we will ensure that whatever is the benefit of the growth, every region will get the benefit of the growth. All the population will get the benefit of the growth. Now, please think of growth and equity. Can I say, if you can achieve growth and equity, one of the objective of 5-year plan will be to eradicate poverty? Let me know. If you can achieve growth as well as equity, right, one more objective of the planning commission will be to eradicate poverty. All of you are okay with this? All of you are okay? Anybody has a problem? Can I say one more objective will be employment generation? Correct? So if suddenly UPSC will ask you, was employment generation objective of planning commission? Of course, yes. Was eradicating poverty objective of planning commission? Of course, yes. Right? Because if you're achieving growth, achieving equity, employment growth will be there, reduction in poverty will take place. Third one, modernization. What do you mean by modernization? It basically refers to adoption of new technologies, better technologies, in order to improve productivity, in order to improve production, in order to improve overall economic activity. That was basically the idea for modernization. And finally, self-reliance. Finally, the argument of self-reliance. Now, please understand, in 1950s, India was dependent on investment, that is basically foreign investment in India. It was dependent on foreign capital. We used to borrow a lot of money. We used to borrow a lot of money so that we can invest in India. India was dependent on food grains, right? Import of food grains. We used to import a lot of food grains from other countries. For example, we imported from USA, United States of America. India was dependent on import of machinery. India was dependent on import of raw materials, etc. So our import dependence was very, very high, right? Our import dependence on capital goods, consumer goods, etc. was very, very high in India. We want to reduce this import dependence by promoting what? Atmanirbharata, by promoting self-reliance. In fact, please remember this, especially second 5-year plan is known for this. Especially the second 5-year plan is known to promote the idea of industrialization in India, reduce import dependence. We want to replace, there's a term called as import substitution. There's a term called as import substitution. What do you mean by import substitution? I'll take a very simple example. Imagine this is a consumer good. Imagine I will produce this consumer good in the domestic market. Now, please tell me, if I can produce this consumer good in the domestic market, will there be a need for importing now? Think of it. Will there be a need for importing? No, import dependence will come down. Can I say it is nothing but import substitution? Let me know. Can I say this is nothing but import substitution? What do you mean by import substitution? Produce in the domestic market, consume it rather than importing it. So second 5-year plan promoted the idea of industrialization, which would lead to self-reliance by substituting the imports. Consumer goods, we wanted to go for import substitution. Capital goods, we wanted to go for import substitution. So these were the 4 very important objectives or the long-term goals of Planning Commission. Okay, next. Please have a look at all the 5-year plans. I will give you a trick. Please make observation, right? Try to remember all the 5-year plans. Sir, how do I remember? 12 5-year plans are there. Very difficult. These are not continuous. That is the trick. What is the trick here? Please look at the first 3 5-year plans. 51, 56, 56, 61, 61, 66. Any gap? Please observe, any gap in all the first 3 5-year plans? Absolutely no gap. Any difficulty in remembering first 3 5-year plan? The years. 51, 56, 56, 61, 61, 66. Now, after this first 3 5-year plan, there is a gap here. This is called as a plan holiday. This is called as plan holiday. What do you mean by plan holiday? We did not implement 5-year plan. We did not implement 5-year plan. Rather, we implemented annual plans. Sir, why? What was the reason? Please look at the year 1966. Right? Are all of you okay? 1962, 1965. What happened? I'm giving you 2 years. 62 and 65. What happened? We fought 2 wars. Right? One was with China. Second one was with Pakistan. 1964-65. Drought-like situation happened in India. Drought-like situation. And at this point of time, please tell me, do you think government will be more focused on 5-year plans? No. India was not focused on 5-year plans. In fact, the government of India said, let me not implement another 5-year plan. Let me take a break. That is the reason plan holiday was given. We implemented annual plans. Now come to 4th and 5th. Any gap between 4th and 5th? 69, 74, 74, 75. No gap. But suddenly you will see there is a gap between 5th and 6th 5-year plan. Suddenly 79 and 80. So what happened? Why there is a gap? In fact, please understand this. 74 to 75. Go back to your high school, right? A search in your mind. What do you think has happened in this time period in India? Emergency. All of you know this? Emergency. And after emergency, elections were conducted and the new party formed the government. Correct? New party, Janata government, very, very famous. Janata government was formed. And that is the precise reason the earlier fifth 5-year plan, which was actually running 78, earlier fifth 5-year plan was discontinued. Janata government introduced a new sixth 5-year plan. Right? That is, in fact, please remember, the sixth 5-year plan that was implemented by Janata government was called as a rolling plan. This is called as a rolling plan. Do you remember the concept of rolling? Let me know. Right, couple of weeks ago we have discussed this. Do you remember the concept of rolling? Rolling means what? Continuous. Rolling means continuous. Right? Some of you are asking, sir, what context did you discuss this? We discussed the concept of rolling under FRBM. Rolling targets were given. Rolling targets have been provided under FRBM. Now, in the same way, what do you mean by rolling plan? Continuous planning. Continuously planning is done, which is called as a rolling plan. Now, some of you will ask, sir, what do you mean by continuous plan? Understand this very carefully. Imagine I will have a 5-year plan. Okay, I will have a 5-year plan, but the 5-year plan will be broken down into plan for every 1 year. Is it okay? I will have a 5-year plan, but the 5-year plan is broken down into, right, 1 year plan like this. Now, imagine I will implement the first year plan. Suddenly, based on my analysis, I will make changes to the second plan. I will implement the second year plan, and based on my analysis, I will make changes to my third year plan. So can I say I'm making continuously the changes in plans? Let me know. Am I continuously making changes in the plans here? That is the reason such process is called as continuous planning. Rolling plan is also referred to as continuous planning. Right? So 1978 continuous plan was implemented. Now 1978, 79, 80. Right? Janata government lost majority. Again Indira Gandhi, right? Mrs. Indira Gandhi formed the government. So what did Mrs. Indira Gandhi do? They withdrew, right? They withdrew rolling plan, again implemented sixth 5-year plan. So now tell me, does it make sense? Why there's a gap between fifth and sixth 5-year plan? All of you okay? Why there's a gap? Now, right, read continuously. 6th to 7th, 7th to 8th. No gap whatsoever. 6th to 7th, 7th to 8th. No gap. Now, after 8th, please tell me. Right, I'm sorry, 6th to 7th continuously has been implemented. Now, 7th to 8th, there is a gap. Sir, why? Why there is a gap? Already you know the reason for this. Right, 1990s, was there crisis in Indian economy? Right, what happened to the Indian economy? What happened to fiscal deficit, overall expenditure, interest burden, etc., etc.? We have discussed it. So there was a crisis. So Government of India said, after 1990, let me not implement 5-year plan. Let me take a plan holiday. Let me take another plan holiday. Right? What do you mean by plan holiday? No 5-year plan. Plan holiday simply means no 5-year plan. Rather, we implemented annual plans. And that is the reason you will see one more gap between 90 and 92. That is basically between the 7th 5-year plan and the 8th 5-year plan. Now read continuously after the 8th 5-year plan. Right? So 92 to 97, 97 to 02, 02 to 07, 07 to 12, 12 to 17. Right? And to make it much more easier for you to remember, I've divided, as per the plan holidays, I've divided them into 3 groups. Can I say, in the first group, there are 3 5-year plans. In the second group, there are 4 5-year plans. And in the third group, there are 5 5-year plans. Now let me know, is it easier to remember? I know, right? Some tricks are there. But compared to earlier, is it easier to remember? All you need to remember is what has happened in history. After third 5-year plan, plan holiday. Take a break then. right? After the fifth 5-year plan, there was a continuous plan. Take 1 year gap. After seventh 5-year plan, right? There was one more plan holiday. Take 2-year break. That's it. You will get continuously the years, right? It is very easy to remember with this kind of trick. Again, this is my trick. If you want to make your own trick, right, your own method, entirely correct. I cannot simply say, how dare you use your own trick? You will have to use only my trick. Absolutely no. Means does not matter. Ends matter here. Don't worry about the means. Focus on the ends. What is the end here? You should be able to remember the years. Why? I'll tell you. Simple. I'll tell you why. Suddenly UPSC can ask you, from which of the 5-year plan LPG reforms were implemented in India? They can ask you, right? From which of the 5-year plan, right? Inclusive growth was considered to be a central theme in the 5-year plans. In which of the 5-year plan 20-point program was implemented? In which of the 5-year plan family planning was brought into focus? Which of the 5-year plan, right? Let's say the nationalization of the banking sector was done. In which of the 5-year plan green revolution was promoted? These kind of questions have been asked by UPSC, can be asked again by UPSC. You please don't worry. Remember the trick like this. Now, let me show you one more table. Let me give you one more table. Many of you keep on asking. Sir, right, what were the targets? Did we achieve the targets in GDP, etc., etc.? These were the GDP targets which were given for individual 5-year plans. Individual 5-year plans, these were the targets given. Now, have a look at this. These were the actual GDP targets that we have achieved. Now, question number 1. Do you think you'll be able to by heart remember this particular table correctly? And this is not a challenge. Don't take it as a challenge and waste 2 months for this. Don't use it. It's of no use. Sir, then what is the use of this table? My recommendation is try to by heart the first 5-year plan because it is most important. First one, try to by heart the first 5-year plan. By heart the second 5-year plan. Why? Second 5-year plan, I told you, promoted the idea of a self-reliance, promoted the idea of, right, let's say import substitution. Apart from this, please look at the 7th 5-year plan. What is the importance? Please look at it and let me know. Please look at the 7th 5-year plan. This was the first ever 5-year plan in India, wherein we were able to hit the GDP growth rate of 6%. We were able to hit the GDP growth rate of 6%. And after that, it has become a common thing. It has become very common, right? But it was the 7th 5-year plan for the first time ever when we hit 6% GDP growth rate. That's the reason. Please remember this. In fact, in the 7th 5-year plan, you will come across one very important point of financial year 89. Financial year 89. And why financial year 89 is known in Indian economy? For the first time ever, India's agriculture sector registered a double-digit growth rate. I will repeat the statement. Why is the financial year 89 known in the 7th 5-year plan? For the first time ever, India's agriculture sector registered a double-digit GDP growth rate. That is, India's agriculture sector registered a growth rate of 10.4% in financial year 89. So these are some of the reasons why you will have to remember. No option. You will have to remember some of the 5-year plan, the target, as well as what was the achievement. Done? Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? Right? So have a look at the table. Right? So please look at the table. Remember some of the achievements. Now let me enter into individual 5-year plans. First 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, third 5-year plan, etc., etc. What are the important points? Point number 1, government promoted agriculture sector in the first 5-year plan. Anybody has a problem why agriculture sector was the focus here? I've told you the historical context. Food security, right? Partition, lot of population in India. Right? Don't you think these are primary reasons why government would be focused on agriculture sector in the first 5-year plan? right? So agriculture sector was the focus. Second, in the first 5-year plan, if you want to promote agriculture sector, don't you think you will have to implement land reforms? Let me know. Don't you think you will have to implement land reforms? Right? That was the reason why in the first 5-year plan, land reforms were actually initiated by the government. For example, abolition of zamindari system. Right? Many of you are saying it is not over. It will be covered under post-independence history. I repeat, land reforms will be covered under post-independence history. Please don't worry. Abolition of zamindari system was actually initiated during the first 5-year plan itself. So focus was agriculture, right? Promotion of irrigation projects, promotion of land reforms, right? And apart from this, what are the important points? One, imports of food grains into India were very, very high. We wanted to address it. Inflation rates were rising. We wanted to address it. Food security was a concern. We wanted to address it. Now, apart from these 4 to 5 points, one more very important point. Please remember this. To begin with, in the first couple of 5-year plans, government followed a model called as Harrod-Domer model. I repeat, to begin with, in the first couple of 5-year plans, Government of India followed a model called as Harrod-Domer model. Now, what is this Harrod-Domer model? The Harrod-Domer model states that if an economy wants to achieve a higher growth rate, then the savings rate has to increase and the capital output ratio has to decrease. I'll explain this. Please listen to me very carefully. What is this Harrod-Domer model? There are two economists, right? Harrod is one economist, Domer is another economist. The clubbing of models have been used and clubbed together. This is called as a Harrod-Domer model. What does Harrod-Domer model say? It says that if an economy wants to achieve a higher growth, then savings rate has to increase and capital output ratio has to decrease. Now, please do let me know, all of you are okay, why savings will promote higher growth in the economy? Let me know. I need to discuss 2 points here. One, how savings will contribute, how capital output ratio is important. All of you are okay, why higher savings will promote growth in the Indian economy? Higher savings means higher investments. Higher investments means, right, higher loans. Higher loans are taken by companies, higher production, etc., etc. We have discussed this multiple times now. Now, what is this capital output ratio? What is this idea of a capital output ratio? Let me ask you a very simple question. Imagine you will invest 100 rupee. By investing 100 rupee capital, in example 1, per unit of production, you will spend, let's say, 20 rupees. In example 1. In example 2, per unit of production, you will be spending 10 rupee. Now, please tell me in which of the two examples do you think production would be higher, GDP would be higher? It's not at all difficult. I'll repeat the example again here. You're spending a capital of 100 rupee, but by spending a capital of 100, in example 1, you will use capital of 20 rupees to produce 1 unit. In example 2, you will use a capital of 10 rupees to produce 1 unit. So can I simply say, based on this, in example 2, because we are using lesser capital, production would be higher, GDP would be higher? Let me know. In example 2, because we are using lesser capital, production would be higher, GDP would be higher. So understand the logic here. There's a term called as capital output ratio. What is capital output ratio? How much capital do you need to produce 1 unit of output? How much capital output ratio, what do you mean by that? How much capital do you need to produce 1 unit of output? Now, please tell me, if you need 20 rupees to produce 1 unit, 10 rupees to produce 1 unit, where do you think production would be higher? And I'm actually surprised some of the students are asking, how is that possible? My dear, what is the difficulty? You tell me. What is the difficulty here? You have 100 rupee capital. In one example, you will use a 20 rupee to produce 1 unit. And in another example, you will use 10 rupees to produce 1 unit. Now, my question or my argument is, in second example, you will be able to produce more. What is difficulty here? What is the difficulty? I am asking those students who are saying, how is that possible? Tell me, what is the difficulty? If you're using 10 rupee, don't you think using 100 rupee capital, you'll produce a 10 units here? You'll produce a 10 units? You'll produce only 5 units here? Right? So don't you think if you produce more units, productivity of the economy would be higher and overall production in the economy will increase and that will contribute more to growth? I hope you understand the logic. I hope you understand the logic here. Right? So I hope you understand the logic. Productivity would be higher, right? Production would start increasing, more jobs would be generated, more growth would take place. That is a concept of capital output ratio. Capital output ratio. Please understand, I'm talking about capital. My dear, I'm talking about capital. Capital means how much money you will use, right, in the form of capital to produce a good, right? So higher capital output ratio means productivity is a lower capital output ratio means productivity would be higher. That is always going to contribute to the economy, right? That is always going to contribute to the economy, right? So to achieve a higher growth, increase the savings, reduce the capital output ratio. That was basically the concept of Harrod-Domer model. Harrod-Domer model. Any problem here? Any problem? Can we go forward? And again, I'm actually surprised. Some of the students are not able to follow what I'm discussing. My dear, am I talking about capital or am I talking about market prices? Tell me. Arey Baba, tell me, am I talking about capital or am I talking about market prices here? GDP is market prices. Am I talking about GDP here? Think, no. Before asking these kind of questions, please think. Right? I will spend 100 rupee to purchase a machinery. That is capital. But using that 100 rupee capital, in one example, I'll produce a 10. In second example, I'll produce 5. Right? So don't you think capital consumption per unit, if it is lesser, more productivity will be there? More productivity means more output. More output means GDP would be higher. So understand the logic behind that. Right? So this is basically the concept of Harrod-Domer model. So in the first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, we actually followed Harrod-Domer model. Okay. Done. Who is Harrod? Who is Domer? My dear, Harrod is one economist. Domer is another economist. Right? So they proposed different theories. There's a clubbing of the theory, which is called as a Harrod-Domer model. Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? Last concept, incremental capital output ratio. Last concept is incremental capital output ratio. Now think of it. Historically, we have invested money in the capital. All of you okay with this? Historically, from 1950 to 1980, from 1950 to 1990, we have invested a lot of money in the capital. If you want to find out what is the impact of capital investment in the last 1 year, do you think taking into consideration the overall capital output ratio, you'll be able to find out the effectiveness of last 1 year's investment? Think of it. I'm saying, let's say hypothetically, from 1950 to 1990, right? Last point, by the way, 1950 to 1990, imagine total amount of investment in capital is 500 crore. But my question is, 1989 and 1990, we have made investment in the capital. So using this, right, capital and calculating capital output ratio, can you find out what was the effectiveness of capital invested in the last 1 year? Please think very carefully. Some of us saying yes. How is that possible? How is that possible? Right? For example, I'll give you one more example. Overall, you have studied for 500 hours in the last, let's say, 1 month. Simple, right? Or let's say last 2 months. In the last 2 months, overall, you have studied 500 hours. Now, based on this data only, can you tell me whether your studies in the last 1 week, was it effective or not effective? Think of this at least now. Right? Can you be able to find out? No. You only know what was the overall number of studies, number of hours you have studied. You do not know that. In that case, there is one more tool that we introduce, concept of incremental capital output ratio. What is this incremental capital output ratio? We are not going to consider overall investment, overall capital. No, we will not consider. What was the capital invested only in the last 1 year? And as a result of this capital, our production has increased by how much? Can I call this as incremental capital output ratio? Think of this. Incremental means additional. Incremental capital output ratio means, let's say, overall investment from last 30 years is this much. I'm not worried about it. How much was the investment only in the last 1 year? And as a result of this, the production has increased by how much? That is called as incremental capital output ratio. So in case of India, we count capital output ratio as well as incremental capital output ratio. Done? So let me stop the discussion today here. We'll continue with the discussion tomorrow. Okay, so first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan. Tomorrow, be ready. In the beginning, I'll discuss a lot of factual information. You can complain, you can argue against me, you can scold me. Many of you do that tomorrow. I know that, because I'll continuously discuss 12 5-year plans. Out of 12, I've already covered one. I'll discuss another 11 5-year plans. 4 points in all the 11 5-year plans. So you will keep on complaining against me during that discussion. So you be ready for it. Be ready, because a lot of factual information is there. Okay. So before before I wind up, if there are any questions, let me know. Sir, is a low ICAR good? Of course, yes. Apply the same logic. If capital output ratio decreases, will it not represent a better productivity? And in the same way, if there is a low incremental capital output ratio, does it not represent a better productivity? Same argument. Okay, same argument. Lower COR is good, lower ICAR is also good. Okay. After receiving the report, does Planning Commission or NDC send report to Cabinet? Yes. Right. Process is very simple here. Planning Commission will send the plan to the NDC. NDC will send it to the Cabinet. That is basically the argument. What is Hindu rate of growth? We'll discuss that tomorrow. Right? We'll discuss that tomorrow. Indicative means, my dear, whenever you talk about concept of planning, there are two concepts. One is indicative, second one is imperative. Indicative means government will formulate a plan, but along with the private sector, they will implement the plan. Whereas imperative means there is no participation of private sector. Government will formulate, government will implement the plan. Okay. Incremental capital output ratio, explain it again. I'll repeat it again. In capital output ratio, we consider historical investments. All of you okay with this statement? In case of capital output ratio, we cover historical investment. That is basically how much has been done in the past. All the investment is considered. But incremental capital output ratio simply indicates to increase the production by 1 unit. To increase the production by 1 unit, how much extra capital we are investing. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Capital output ratio, for example, I'll give you data here. Do not by heart it. Let's say, right? From 1950 to 1990, the overall investment is, let's say, 500 crore rupees. But this is overall investment. Historical investment in capital is also considered. But what if I want to find out in 1989 to 1980, how much was my investment in capital? And as a result of this investment, my overall production has increased by how many units? That will give you incremental capital output ratio. That will give you incremental capital output ratio. Okay. That is basically the concept of ICAR. To increase the production by 1 unit, how much more capital should I invest? That is called as ICAR. Okay, done. In PYQ, when you discussed if convertible bonds prices is less than 10% of equity, then how it would be considered as FDI? My dear, RBI says it is FDI, right? RBI says convertible bonds will be counted as FDI, right? You can check RBI website. RBI says it is FDI. Please go with RBI. Okay. How lower ICAR will lead to higher productivity? Same argument. My dear, you want to produce 1 extra unit of this bottle. You want to produce 1 extra unit of this bottle. Would you want to spend 7 rupees or 5 rupees additional capital to produce this unit? Let me know. You want to produce 1 extra unit. Would you want to spend 7 rupees or 5 rupees additional capital? Don't you think you'll prefer 5 rupees? So imagine in this year, 100 rupee capital investment is done. 100 rupee capital investment is done. Don't you think if your ICAR is a 5 rupee, your productivity would be much higher? Same argument. Okay. Done. So let me stop the discussion today here. Tomorrow we'll continue with the discussion. We'll start with second 5-year plan. That is a heavy industrialization, Mahalanobis strategy. Right? We'll discuss a second. We'll start from second 5-year plan tomorrow. So that's it from my side. Take care. See you tomorrow. So tomorrow as well as day after tomorrow, we'll be finishing the Indian economy part for you. Okay. So take care. See you tomorrow sharp at 6 a.m. Have a great day.